Between 1200 and 300 BC, roughly 500,000 Phoenicians built a trading empire that stretched 2,500 miles across the Mediterranean, encountering storms, pirates, purple dye that stank like death, and a complete lack of navigation tools beyond the stars. The work was brutal, the smell unbearable, but for these master seafarers, fortune waited across every horizon. Here's what life was really like as a Phoenician merchant. So, yeah, if these stories work for you, subscribe. And I'm curious, what time is it where you are? Comment your location and the time. I saw someone from Iceland once and had to Google what time zone that even is. All right, tonight it's ancient Phoenicia. But wait, are you comfortable? No, really. Check. Pillows, blankets, the whole deal. Where we're going, you'll want to be settled, your eyes open to darkness. The stone floor beneath your sleeping mat is cold, always cold. You're maybe 4 years old, maybe 5. Nobody bothers tracking birthdays precisely when you're born into a family of dye merchants in Tyre. The smell hits you first. Not the smell of breakfast, not the smell of the sea, though that's there too, salt and brine mixing with everything else. No, it's the other smell, the one that never really leaves. Rotting fish mixed with something sharper, something that makes your nose wrinkle even now, even after living with it your whole short life. Your father's dye workshops are 3 buildings down. But the smell? Yeah. That travels, like all the way through the narrow streets of Tyre, through the stone walls of your family's house, into your dreams. The Talmud would later grant women the right to divorce husbands who became dyers after marriage specifically because of this smell. That's how bad it is, the kind of stench that sticks to your hands, your clothes, your hair, forever. You sit up on your mat. The room you share with your 2 brothers is maybe 8 feet by 8 feet, stone walls on 3 sides, a small window cut into the 4th, no glass, just an opening that lets in the pre-dawn light from the Mediterranean. Your older brother Hanno is already gone. He's 11, old enough to work the workshops before the sun rises. Your younger brother still sleeps curled against the wall. You can hear the city waking up outside. Footsteps on stone, voices calling out in Phoenician, though honestly you just think of it as talking. You don't know it's called Phoenician. You don't even know you're Phoenician. You're from Tyre. That's what matters. The people in Sidon up the coast, also from the coast, sure, but they're Sidonian. Different. You compete with them for trade routes, for customers, for everything. Your mother appears in the doorway. She's carrying a clay jug of water and a piece of flatbread, barley bread, the cheap kind, the kind everyone eats unless you're royalty or stupid rich. Your family isn't poor, exactly. The dye business is good, really good, but there are a lot of mouths to feed, and your father believes in reinvesting profits into more Murex shells, more vats, more everything. Up, she says. Just that. One word. You stand. The tunic you slept in is rough wool, undyed. Wearing your own product would be insane. That purple dye your family makes, 1 pound of it requires crushing 12,000 Murex snails and letting their glands rot in brine for 10 days. The smell alone would make you a social pariah. And the cost? More than your house is worth. More than 10 houses are worth. So you wear undyed wool like everyone else who works near the workshops. Your mother hands you the bread. You eat it standing up. No ceremony, no table. Tables are for rich people or for evening meals when the whole family gathers. Morning is for work, not comfort. The bread is dry, hard, but you don't complain. You learned early that complaining gets you nothing except maybe a swat on the back of the head. Your father wants you at the harbour, she says. Your heart jumps. the harbour, not the workshops. The harbour means ships, means the sea, means maybe, just maybe, you get to see the merchant vessels that sail in from everywhere. Cyprus, Egypt, Sicily, places you've only heard about in stories your father tells when he's had too much wine and gets nostalgic about his own youth at sea. You gulp down the rest of the bread. Your mother hands you the water jug. You drink. It's not cold, obviously. Nothing is cold in Tyre except the stone floors at night. The water tastes like the clay jug, earthy and strange, but it washes down the bread and that's all that matters. Go, she says. Don't make him wait. You go. The streets of Tyre are narrow, like really narrow, maybe 6 feet wide, sometimes less. Stone buildings press in on both sides, 2 stories, 3 stories, rising up toward the sky. The city is built on an island just off the coast, connected to the mainland by a narrow causeway. Space is at a premium. Every inch of land is used, built on, packed with people and workshops and warehouses. You dodge around a woman carrying a basket of fish. She yells something at you. You don't catch it, probably telling you to watch where you're going. The streets are chaos at this hour. Merchants setting up their stalls, dock workers heading to the harbour, slaves carrying amphoras of wine and oil. Everyone moving with purpose, everyone going somewhere. The smell of the dye workshops fades as you head toward the water. It's replaced by other smells. Fish, obviously. So much fish. Tyre lives on fish. Dried fish, salted fish, fish cooked with olive oil and herbs. And then there's the smell of cedarwood from the Lebanese mountains, stacked in massive piles near the warehouses. The smell of pitch from the shipyards where they're caulking the hulls of new vessels. The smell of unwashed bodies pressed together in a city of maybe 20,000 people, all crammed onto a rocky island. You make it to the harbour. And wow, okay, you've seen the harbour before, obviously, you live here, but it never stops being amazing. The double harbour system your city is famous for stretches out before you. One harbour for the navy, the sacred warships that protect Tyre's trade routes. One harbour for merchant vessels, the ships that make your family rich. Right now, at dawn, the merchant harbour is packed. Ships with horse-headed prows bob in the water. Phoenician ships built right here in Tyre using cedar from the mountains. They're not huge, maybe 50 feet long, but they're sturdy, built using a technique your people perfected. Mortise and tenon joints where planks are fitted together with wooden pegs driven through drilled holes, so strong that these ships will still be the standard 400 years from now when the Romans are copying your designs. Your father stands near a ship being loaded with amphoras. He's talking to a man you don't recognize. Foreign by the look of him. Egyptian maybe. His skin is darker, his clothes different, wrapped linen instead of a tunic. They're gesturing at the cargo, clearly negotiating something. Price, probably. Everything in Tyre is about price. You wait. You learned this early too. Don't interrupt your father when he's doing business. Just stand there, quiet, until he acknowledges you. So you watch the harbour instead. Watch the slaves loading cargo. Watch the sailors checking the rigging. The brailed sails that let Phoenician ships tack against the wind better than anyone else's vessels. A ship is heading out to sea. The oars dip and rise, 20 men rowing in rhythm. The sail unfurls, catching the morning breeze. You can see the captain at the stern, hand on the steering oar, eyes on the horizon. No compass, no maps, not really, just the coastline, the stars, and generations of knowledge passed from father to son about where the rocks are, where the currents run fast, where the winds blow true. Baal Hannon. You turn. Your father is done with his negotiation. The Egyptian is walking away, looking pleased with himself. Your father looks less pleased, which probably means he got the price he wanted but had to work for it. Yes, father? Come here. You approach. He's a big man, your father. Tall for a Phoenician, with arms thick from years of hauling cargo before he became successful enough to hire others to do the hauling. His beard is streaked with grey now, but his eyes are sharp. Always calculating, always thinking 3 deals ahead. He puts a hand on your shoulder. You see that ship? He points to the one being loaded. You nod. That's going to Cyprus. 14 days if the winds are good, 3 weeks if they're not. It's carrying olive oil, wine, and 2 amphoras of our purple dye. You know how much those 2 amphoras are worth? You shake your head. More than I paid for your mother, he says. And he's not joking. Marriage contracts in Phoenicia are business transactions. Your mother came with a dowry of land near Sidon. Your father paid a bride price of silver and promised trade connections. That's how it works. The purple, you ask, because you're supposed to show interest, supposed to prove you're paying attention, is going to the Egyptian royal court, your father says. The pharaoh's daughter is getting married. They need purple cloth for the ceremony, only the best, only ours. You feel a swell of pride at that. Tyre's purple is famous. Everyone knows it. The Tyrian purple, extracted from murex snails, creates a colour so deep and so permanent that it doesn't fade even after years of wear. The process is insane. The smell is worse. But the profit, worth every gagging moment in the workshops. When you're older, your father says, and now his voice gets serious, the way it does when he's about to teach you something important, you'll learn the trade, all of it, the ships, the dye, the negotiations, the sailing, everything. I want to sail, you say, because you're 4 or 5 and honest to a fault. Your father laughs, actually laughs. Everyone wants to sail at your age, he says. The sea looks romantic from the harbour. Wait until you're in a storm 3 days from any land with waves tall as houses trying to flip your ship. Then tell me how romantic it is. But he's smiling when he says it, because he knows. He knows that despite the danger, despite the storms and the pirates and the foreign ports where one wrong word can get you killed, the sea is where fortunes are made, where boys from Tyre become men, where merchants become legends. A gull cries overhead. You watch it dive toward the water, snatching a fish from the surface. The sun is fully up now, painting the Mediterranean in shades of blue and gold. The island city of Tyre rises behind you, stone and cedar wood, purple dye and dreams of wealth. Go to school, your father says, breaking the moment. Learn your letters. We'll talk more tonight. School. Right. You almost forgot. School is new for your family. Your grandfather couldn't read. Your father learned basic arithmetic and a little bit of the alphabet, enough to keep trade records. But you're getting a real education. Your father is paying a scribe to teach you and your brothers to read and write the 22 letters of the Phoenician alphabet. 22 letters. That's it. Not like the Egyptian hieroglyphs with their thousands of symbols that take years to master. Not like the Mesopotamian cuneiform with its complex wedge shapes. Just 22 consonants written right to left, simple enough that even merchant kids can learn it. That's the thing about being Phoenician. Practical, efficient. Why complicate things when you can simplify them? You head back through the streets toward the scribe's house. It's near the centre of the city, close to the temple of Melkart, Tyre's patron god, the god of kingship and trade and colonization, the god who supposedly discovered the purple dye when his dog bit into a murex shell on the beach and came back with a purple-stained mouth. At least that's the story. You don't question the stories. Nobody does. The gods are real as the ships in the harbour or the bread in your stomach. You see their temples, you watch the sacrifices, you hear the prophets chanting and dancing in the streets during festivals. The gods are woven into daily life like purple thread through fabric. The scribe's house is small but clean. He's an older man, maybe 40, with ink-stained fingers and a patient expression that suggests he's spent years teaching rowdy merchant kids to sit still long enough to learn something. 6 other boys are already there when you arrive. You recognize a few: sons of shipbuilders, sons of glassmakers, sons of merchants like you. "Sit," the scribe says. You sit on the floor, no chairs, no desks, just reed mats and a wooden board propped against the wall with the 22 letters of the alphabet carved into it. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. You've been memorizing them for months now, practicing writing them with a stylus on wax tablets that your mother washes clean each night so you can practice again the next day. "Today we practice contracts," the scribe announces. A groan goes through the group. Contracts are boring, way more boring than learning to write your name or copying out prayers to the gods, but contracts are important. Everything in Tyre runs on contracts: trade agreements, marriage arrangements, loan terms, property transfers, all of it written down in your practical, efficient alphabet. A ship captain from Sidon, the scribe begins, dictating slowly so you can copy the words, agrees to transport 20 amphoras of olive oil from Tyre to Cyprus, payment upon delivery, 2 silver shekels, witnessed by, you scratch the words onto your wax tablet. Carefully, slowly. Your handwriting is still shaky, the letters uneven, but you're getting better. In a few years, you'll be keeping your own trade records, writing your own contracts, maybe even teaching your own kids someday. The morning passes in scratching styluses and the scribe's patient corrections. By midday, you're released. The sun is brutal now, beating down on the stone city. You're hungry, actually hungry, not just morning hungry. Your stomach growls as you make your way back home. Your mother has prepared lunch: lentil stew, more barley bread, some figs from a tree in the tiny courtyard behind your house. Your brothers are already eating. Hanno looks exhausted from his morning in the workshops. Your younger brother looks bored, too young for school, too young for work, stuck in that in-between age where all you can do is cause trouble. "Eat," your mother says. You eat. The lentils are good, cooked with olive oil and some herbs you can't identify. Not fancy, but filling. The figs are sweet, a treat. Your family is doing well enough to afford figs. That's something. A lot of families in Tyre can't. "Father wants you at the workshops this afternoon," Hanno says between bites of bread. Your stomach drops. The workshops, the smell, the work. It's one thing to see the finished product, the gorgeous purple cloth that sells for fortunes. It's another thing entirely to be in the workshops where it's made, where the murex shells are cracked open, where the hypobranchial glands are extracted, where those glands are left to rot in brine-filled vats under the Mediterranean sun. The smell. God, the smell. "Do I have to?" you ask. Your mother gives you a look. That look, the one that says asking questions like that is pointless. Of course you have to. This is your family's business. This is how you eat, how you survive, how you maybe someday become rich enough to buy your own ship. You finish your lunch. The walk to the workshops feels too short. They're on the southern edge of the city, as far from the residential areas as possible, while still being inside the city walls. 14 kilometres away in Sarepta, there's another workshop complex that handles the bulk of Tyre's dye production, far enough away that the smell doesn't reach the city proper. But your family has a smaller operation here in Tyre itself, mostly for specialty orders and immediate needs. The smell hits you half a block away. Rotting shellfish, putrefying sea snails, brine and decay, and something chemical that you don't have words for. It's so strong that you have to breathe through your mouth, and even then you can taste it on your tongue. Workers walking out of the complex have that stench clinging to them like a second skin. Your father is waiting outside. He hands you a strip of cloth. "Tie this around your face," he says. "It helps." It doesn't help. You tie it anyway and follow him into the first building. Inside, the smell is almost physical, a wall of stench that makes your eyes water. Vats line the walls, large clay containers filled with crushed murex shells and seawater and the extracted glands of thousands upon thousands of sea snails. Some vats are fresh, the mixture still bright. Others have been sitting for days, the contents a dark, bubbling mess that looks like it should be poisonous. It probably is poisonous. You don't ask. Workers are stirring the vats with long wooden poles. Others are cracking open new shells, carefully extracting the tiny glands that produce the dye. It's delicate work. 1 gland per snail, 12,000 snails per pound of dye powder. The math is insane. "Come here," your father says. He shows you a shell, a murex shell, about the size of your fist, covered in spines that would cut your hand if you grabbed it wrong. He cracks it open with a practiced motion, revealing the soft body inside. With a small knife, he makes a precise cut and extracts something that looks like a tiny sack. "This," he says, holding it up, "is worth more than gold, weight for weight, at least once it's processed." You stare at the tiny thing. It's wet, slimy, completely unremarkable. "That's it?" you ask. "That's it," your father confirms. "Now multiply by 12,000. Now factor in the labour, the time, the skill, the workshops, the vats, the secret process that only we know, and you start to understand why purple cloth costs what it does." He drops the gland into a basket already half full of them. Later, those glands will be added to a vat. They'll rot, they'll stink, they'll transform through some biological magic you don't understand into a dye that creates the most coveted colour in the ancient world. A colour that Roman emperors will kill for. A colour that will make your family wealthy enough to survive everything the next few centuries throw at you. Invasions, sieges, imperial tribute, all of it survived because of these tiny, stinking glands from sea snails that most people would step on without a second thought. "This is our fortune," your father says simply. "Remember that. You remember." Your father makes you stay for an hour, watching the workers, learning the process, where the best murex hunting grounds are, how to tell a good snail from a bad one, the timing required for the vats, the way the mixture has to be exposed to sunlight at precisely the right moment to achieve that deep rich purple instead of a muddy brown. It's complicated, way more complicated than you expected. And the smell never gets better. Even with the cloth tied around your face, even breathing through your mouth, it seeps into everything, your hair, your skin, your clothes. Later tonight, your mother will make you strip naked outside the house and wash with water drawn from the cistern before you're allowed inside. But you learn, that's the point. You learn that luxury comes with a price, that beauty requires suffering, that the gorgeous purple cloth that adorns Egyptian pharaohs and Mesopotamian kings starts here in these stinking vats with these rotting shells, with these workers who sacrifice their noses and their social lives for a wage that's better than farming but worse than trading. The sun is low when your father finally lets you leave. You stumble out of the workshop, gasping for clean air. The harbour breeze helps. Salt and fish and cedarwood, yes, but nothing compared to what you just left behind. Your father claps you on the shoulder. "You did well," he says. "Tomorrow, school again, then the harbour. We'll make a merchant of you yet." You walk home together through the darkening streets of Tyre. The city is transforming as it does every evening. Market stalls closing, lamps being lit in windows, the smell of cooking food drifting from doorways, barley stew, roasted fish, bread baking for tomorrow. Your mother has dinner ready. Your whole family gathers in the main room. Your father, your mother, your two brothers, your grandmother, your father's mother, who lives with you because that's how it works. Your mother's younger sister, who hasn't married yet and helps with the household work. 9 people in a house with maybe 5 rooms total. Close quarters, no privacy, but that's normal. That's how everyone lives unless you're royalty or stupidly wealthy. Families stick together, share resources, pool labor, survive. The food is good tonight. Your father must have made a profitable deal today. There's fish alongside the lentils, real fish, not just the dried stuff, cooked with olive oil and something that might be imported spices worth their weight in silver. Your father's feeling generous or showing off, or both. Tell them, your mother prompts. Your father clears his throat. The room goes quiet. The Sidon ship, he announces, the one carrying our dye to Egypt. It made it through safely. The Egyptian court is pleased. They're ordering more, much more. A cheer goes up around the room. More orders mean more work. More work means more money. More money means the family prospers. Maybe your grandmother gets new sandals. Maybe your mother can afford that bronze cooking pot she's been eyeing. Maybe, just maybe, there's enough to expand the workshop, buy another ship. Life in Tyre runs on trade, on risk, on ships that might sink or might make it through, on dye that might sell for a fortune or might not find a buyer, on relationships with foreign courts that might last years or might collapse with one political shift. Everything is uncertain, everything is a gamble. But when it works, when the ships come home full of silver and the orders keep coming and your purple dye adorns the most powerful people in the known world, it's worth it. Your younger brother falls asleep at the table. Your mother carries him to the sleeping room. Your father pours himself some wine, the good stuff from Cyprus that costs more than you want to think about. Your grandmother starts singing, an old song in Phoenician that you've heard 100 times. Something about sailors and the sea and coming home safely. You lean against the wall, full and tired. Outside, Tyre settles into night. The harbour grows quiet. The workshops close. The streets empty. Somewhere guards patrol the city walls, watching for pirates or invaders or any of the dozen threats that keep island cities awake at night. Somewhere, in the Temple of Melkart, priests are performing the evening sacrifices, offering wine and oil and prayers to the god who keeps Tyre safe. And somewhere far out at sea, Phoenician ships are sailing through darkness, navigating by stars, trusting wind and current and luck, carrying cargo worth fortunes, risking everything on the chance that they'll make it home. That's your heritage. That's what it means to be born in Tyre. Born into a family of merchants. Born into a world where the sea is both enemy and friend. Where purple dye is worth more than gold, where a simple alphabet of 22 letters can change the world. You drift towards sleep thinking about ships, about the horizon, about all the places you've never seen but someday will. Cyprus, Sicily, Egypt, Spain, maybe even beyond the Pillars of Hercules, out into the vast Atlantic that some sailors whisper about in the taverns. Places where no one has sailed. Places where fortunes wait for those brave enough to risk the journey. Your eyes grow heavy. The sounds of the city fade. The smell of the dye workshops finally leaves your nose. Your family's voices become distant, warm. You're 4 years old, maybe 5, in a house made of stone on an island city named Tyre, in a world that's about to change in ways you can't imagine. In a moment that's perfect because you're fed and safe and surrounded by people who love you. The Mediterranean is still out there, waiting. But for now, you're home. And that's enough. 10 years pass in the blink of an eye. You're 14 now, maybe 15, still nobody's tracking exactly, but you're tall enough to pull an oar and smart enough to keep your mouth shut when the sailors are talking, which makes you exactly the right age to go to sea. Your father shakes you awake before dawn. Today, he says, just that one word. You know what it means. You've been waiting for this day since you were 5 years old, watching ships leave the harbour and dreaming about horizons. Today, you're not watching anymore. Today, you're going. The ship is called the Star of Melkart. 50 feet of cedar planks fitted together so perfectly you could run your hand along the hull and barely feel the seams. Your father commissioned it 2 years ago from the best shipbuilders in Tyre. Cost him a fortune. 2 amphoras of purple dye, 40 silver shekels, and a promise of future business. Worth every bit of it. She's beautiful. Horse-headed prow carved from Lebanese cedar, 20 oars, 10 per side, a single square sail dyed red with cheaper dye than your family produces, but still impressive, and most importantly, a hull built using the technique that makes Phoenician ships the best in the world. Mortise and tenon joints, planks pegged together with wooden dowels driven through drilled holes. The Egyptians call these byblos boats because they're so good at handling deep water. The Greeks will copy the design in another 100 years. The Romans will still be using it 400 years from now. But right now, right here in the pre-dawn darkness of Tyre's harbour, it's just your ride to Cyprus. The captain is a man named Yatonbal. 40 years old, maybe older, face like carved leather from decades of Mediterranean sun, lost his left ear to a pirate blade somewhere near Sicily. Still has all his teeth though, which is almost unheard of for a sailor his age. He looks you up and down with the expression of a man examining a possibly spoiled fish. "This is your boy?" he asks your father. "This is Baal Hanan," your father confirms. He can read, write, and do figures. He's been studying navigation with the temple priests, and he's strong enough to row. Yatonbal grunts. Not impressed, but not dismissive either. "Can you swim?" he asks you directly. "Yes, Captain." "Good. Because if you fall overboard, I'm not turning this ship around." He pauses. "Probably. Depends how far out we are and whether I like you yet." This is his idea of a joke. Probably. Your father claps you on the shoulder. There's no big goodbye speech, no emotional moment. This isn't that kind of culture. Men go to sea. That's just how it is. Your job is to learn, survive, and come back richer. "Make me proud," your father says. Then he's gone, heading back to the workshops because dye production doesn't stop just because his oldest son is about to risk his life at sea. "On board," Yatonbal orders. You climb onto the Star of Melkart. The deck is maybe 30 feet long, narrow, crowded with cargo, amphoras of olive oil stacked and roped together, cedar planks cut to specific sizes for a buyer in Cyprus, 3 crates of finished glass from Tyre's workshops, each piece wrapped in linen, worth more than your family's house if you don't break any, and tucked in the stern 2 small clay pots sealed with wax. Purple dye, your family's product, the real cargo. Everything else is just ballast, really. "You," Yatonbal points at you. "Third bench, port side. You'll be pulling an oar with Abd Melkart. Do what he says and you'll be fine. Don't, and you'll be swimming back to Tyre." The man at the third bench grins at you. He's maybe 20, built like an ox with arms that suggest he's been rowing since before you were born. "New fish," he says cheerfully. "Sit, grab that oar, and when I say pull, you pull like your life depends on it, because it does." You sit. The bench is hard wood, worn smooth by years of use. The oar is heavier than it looks, thick cedar polished by countless hands. You grip it where Abd Melkart shows you. "Not like that," he corrects. "Lower. Yeah, there. You want your whole back in the motion, not just your arms. Arms'll give out in an hour. Back lasts all day. The other oarsmen are boarding now. 20 men total, not counting you and Yatunbal. Most of them look like they've been doing this forever. Weathered skin, scarred hands, the kind of casual competence that comes from knowing exactly what they're doing and not needing to prove it. "Cast off!" Yatunbal shouts. The mooring ropes are pulled in. The ship drifts away from the dock, caught by the morning current. 20 oars hit the water in perfect unison. "Pull!" Yatunbal calls. "You pull." Holy hell, you pull. The oar fights you, the water resisting every stroke. Abdmelkart beside you makes it look easy, his oar slicing through the Mediterranean like butter. Yours feels like you're trying to move a mountain. Put your back into it, Abdmelkart laughs. The sea doesn't care if you're tired. You pull harder. The rhythm starts to make sense after a few minutes. Pull, lift, return, pull. Again and again. Your shoulders start burning almost immediately. Your hands, soft from a childhood of relatively easy work, start to sting where the oar rubs against them. You can feel blisters forming. Nobody cares. This is the price. This is what it costs to go to sea. Your father warned you. Everyone warned you. But there's a difference between knowing something intellectually and feeling it in your screaming muscles and your bleeding hands. The Star of Melkart clears the harbour. The open sea stretches ahead, blue and gold in the rising sun. Cyprus is roughly 200 miles northeast. If the winds are good, if the currents cooperate, if the gods smile on you, the journey takes about 14 days. That's what Yatunbal told your father. 2 weeks there. A week in port to sell cargo and buy new goods. 2 weeks back. 5 weeks total. Your first voyage. Oars up, Yatunbal calls. Thank the gods. Your arms feel like cooked lentils. The sail drops, catching the morning breeze. The ship lurches forward, settling into the wind. The oars are secured along the sides. You can finally let go, finally rest your hands. They're bleeding, not badly, but enough that Abdmelkart notices. "First voyage hands," he says, not unkindly. "They'll toughen up. By the time we get back to Tyre, you'll have proper calluses. Then they won't bleed anymore." "How long have you been sailing?" you ask, because conversation helps distract from the pain. "Since I was 12, he says. 8 years now. Been to Cyprus 17 times, Sicily 4 times, Egypt twice. Almost died 3 times, but only almost." He grins. "The sea and I have an understanding. I respect her. She tries to kill me. We get along great. This is sailor humour. You're going to hear a lot of it over the next 5 weeks. The day settles into routine. The wind holds steady, so no rowing required. Yatunbal stands at the stern with one hand on the steering oar, eyes constantly scanning the horizon. Looking for what? You don't know yet. Other ships maybe. Pirates, storms, rocks, any of the 100 things that can kill you at sea. Around midday, someone breaks out food. Dried fish, flatbread so hard you have to soak it in watered-down wine to make it edible. Some figs that are already starting to go bad in the Mediterranean heat. This is sailor food. This is what you eat when you're at sea, and fresh provisions are a fantasy. You eat it anyway. You're hungry enough that leather would taste good right now. How do we know where we're going? You ask Abdmelkart between bites of fish. He points to the coastline, still visible off the port side. See that? We're following the shore north. Always stay in sight of land when you can. The sea is big and empty and easy to get lost in, but as long as you can see land, you know where you are. What about at night? The stars, he says simply. You studied navigation with the temple priests, right? They teach you about the pole star. You nod. The star that doesn't move. the one that always points north. The Greeks call it Phoeniki after your people, because Phoenician sailors use it constantly. Good, that star keeps us honest. That and the currents. You learn the currents, you can practically sail asleep. He pauses. Don't actually do that. Yatonbal will throw you overboard. The afternoon drags on. The sun is brutal, beating down on the open deck. There's no shade on a ship like this, no cover. You're just exposed to the elements. The Mediterranean in summer is hot, like really hot. You're sweating through your tunic within an hour. Around you, the other sailors are doing sailor things, checking the rigging, adjusting the brailed sails, those lines that run along the sail's edge and let you shape it to catch the wind just right, bailing water from the bilge because all ships leak a little and you have to stay ahead of it, trading stories, sleeping because when you can rest, you rest. You try to sleep, can't. Too excited, too nervous. Too aware that you're actually here, actually doing this, actually sailing away from Tyre for the first time in your life. The coastline slowly changes. The mountains of Lebanon give way to lower hills. Different cities appear in the distance. Sidon, probably, though you're far enough out that you can't make out details. Then nothing for a while, just coastline and sea. Evening approaches. The wind shifts slightly. Yatonbal adjusts course without drama, just small movements of the steering oar. He's been doing this so long it's automatic, like breathing. We'll anchor off that beach for the night, he announces, pointing to a cove up ahead. Why anchor? You ask Abdmelkart quietly. Can't we sail at night? Can, he says, but don't if you don't have to. Too much can go wrong in darkness, rocks you don't see, other ships, plus the men need rest. Rowing all day takes it out of you. The ship noses into the cove as the sun touches the horizon. The anchor is dropped, a big stone tied to a rope. Not fancy, but it works. The ship settles, rocking gently in the shallow water. Food appears again. More dried fish, more hard bread, but also some fresh water from the casks stored in the hold, and that tastes better than anything you've ever drunk. You didn't realize how thirsty you were until the cup was in your hands. First day done, Abdmelkart says, slapping your back. You didn't die, that's better than some first voyagers. You want to ask if he's joking. You're pretty sure he's not. Night falls hard and fast. No twilight out here, just day and then darkness. The stars come out. So many stars, more than you ever see in Tyre where the lamps and cooking fires wash out the sky. Out here the heavens are just blazing with light. There, the pole star, right where it should be. You fall asleep on the deck, wrapped in a thin blanket, rocked by the gentle waves. Your hands hurt, your back hurts, your shoulders feel like someone beat them with a hammer, but you made it. 1 day at sea, 13 more to Cyprus. You can do this. Day 2 is worse. Your muscles have stiffened overnight. Every movement is agony. And guess what? Time to row again because the wind died during the night and Yatonbal wants to make progress before the sun gets too high. Pull! He shouts. You pull. Your hands scream at you. The blisters from yesterday have opened up, making the oar slippery with blood. Abdmelkart sees, sighs, and wraps your hands with strips of linen before your next stroke. Should have done this yesterday, he mutters. New fish. Always forget their hands. The linen helps. Not much, but some. You keep rowing. Hours pass. The sun climbs. You row, you rest, you row again. The coastline slides by endlessly. More cities, more beaches, more mountains. The Mediterranean is huge. You knew that intellectually, but being out on it day after day, watching the horizon stretch forever in all directions, that's different. That's when you understand why sailors tell stories about sea monsters. Because out here, anything could be out here. Day 3 brings a storm. You see it coming from miles away, black clouds piling up on the northern horizon. The wind picks up, but it's not steady anymore. It gusts, dies, gusts again. The sea gets choppy. The ship starts rocking harder. "All hands," Yatonbal shouts. "Secure the cargo. Get that sail down. Move." Everyone moves. You've never seen men work so fast. The cargo is double-checked, extra ropes thrown over the amphoras. The sail comes down, gets tied off, the oars are secured, and then you wait. The storm hits like a fist. One moment the sea is rough but manageable. The next moment waves are crashing over the bow. The wind is screaming. Rain hammers down so hard you can barely see the man next to you. The Star of Melkart pitches and rolls, and you grab onto whatever you can find and just hold on. You're going to die. You're absolutely sure of it. This is it. 14 years old and about to drown in the Mediterranean because you wanted to be a sailor. Your father will never even find your body. The fish will eat you, and somewhere in Tyre your mother will cry. And your brothers will divide up your things. But the ship holds. Those mortise and tenon joints, those wooden pegs driven through drilled holes, they hold. The Star of Melkart was built by masters who knew what they were doing. She bends, she creaks, she sounds like she's about to break apart any second. But she doesn't. 2 hours later, the storm passes. The sun comes out, the sea settles, and somehow, miraculously, you're still alive. "Not bad," Yatonbal says, surveying his crew. "Nobody washed overboard. Cargo's intact. We're still on course." He looks directly at you. "How are you holding up, new fish?" Your hands are shaking. Your whole body is shaking, but you manage to nod. "Good," Yatonbal says, "because that was a small storm. Wait till you see a real one." He's joking, right? He has to be joking. Abd Melkart sees your face and laughs. He's joking, probably. "That was pretty solid for an early summer squall. We're fine. Ship's fine. You're fine. Welcome to sailing." The rest of the journey to Cyprus is blessedly uneventful. More days of rowing and resting, more nights anchored in coves, or once pulled up on a beach where the crew built a fire and someone caught fish, and for one beautiful evening you ate fresh food and felt almost human again. More sun, more sore muscles, more endless blue horizon. But you're getting stronger. Your hands have actual calluses now. The rowing doesn't hurt like it did that first day. You can pull an oar for hours without wanting to die. And you're learning the rhythms of the ship, learning to read the weather, learning the 100 small things that separate a sailor from a corpse floating face down in the Mediterranean. On day 13, you see Cyprus. Mountains rising out of the sea, green and brown and absolutely beautiful, because it means the journey is almost over. The Star of Melkart turns toward the coast, toward the harbour at Kition, one of the major trading ports on the southern side of the island. The harbour is busy, ships from everywhere, Egyptian vessels with their distinctive high prows, Greek ships, smaller and lighter than Phoenician designs, ships from Asia Minor, from other Phoenician cities, from places you can't even identify, all of them here for the same reason, trade. The Star of Melkart ties up at the dock. Yatonbal disappears to find buyers for the cargo. You and the crew start unloading. The amphoras of olive oil, the cedar planks, the glass, miraculously unbroken despite the storm. And finally, carefully, the 2 sealed pots of purple dye. A merchant examines the dye pots. He's local, Cypriot, wearing Greek-style clothing, but speaking perfect Phoenician. He opens one pot, looks at the colour, nods. "Your father's product," he says. "It's not a question. I've bought from him before. Good quality. I'll take both pots. 300 silver shekels." Yatonbal doesn't even counter-offer. 300 shekels for 2 pots of dye. That's more than the entire rest of the cargo combined. That's why your family is wealthy. That's why this whole trip, the whole ship, the whole dangerous voyage was worth it. The merchant pays in silver, real silver, weighed out on scales, checked for purity. Yatunbal counts it twice, nods, and shakes hands to seal the deal. Good trade, Yatunbal says, then to you, and that's how it's done. Now we buy cargo for the return trip and do it all again. Cyprus is different from Tyre. Bigger, more open. The city of Kition sprawls along the coast without the cramped feeling of home. People here speak Greek as much as Phoenician. The markets sell goods from all over. Egyptian grain, Mesopotamian metalwork, local wine that's supposedly the best in the world, though you're too young to drink it yet, so you wouldn't know. You spend 3 days in port, loading the return cargo, copper ingots, Cyprus's main export, pottery, more wine, dried figs and dates, things that will sell well back in Tyre, and then you sail again. The return trip is easier somehow. You know what to expect now. You know the routine. You've survived one storm, so another one doesn't scare you quite as much. Your hands are properly calloused. Your back is stronger. You're becoming what you wanted to be, a sailor. 14 days later, the Star of Melkart enters Tyre's harbour. Your father is waiting on the dock. He doesn't hug you, that's not his style, but he looks you over, sees that you're still in one piece, and nods approval, respect. Good voyage? He asks. We made it, you say. Then it was good enough. He claps your shoulder. Get cleaned up. Rest. Tomorrow we go over the accounts and you tell me everything you learned. You're home. You're safe. You're richer than when you left. And you already can't wait to go again. You're 18 when your father decides it's time you actually learn the secrets, not the basic stuff. You already know that. How to crack the shells without destroying the glands, how to sort good murex from bad, the timing on the vats, the sunlight exposure that turns muddy brown into that deep, gorgeous purple that kings murder over. No. Your father wants to teach you the real secrets, the ones that keep your family ahead of Sidon, the ones that mean the difference between wealth and bankruptcy. He takes you to the Sarepta workshop complex at dawn. This place is 14 kilometers south of Tyre, built specifically so the smell doesn't reach the city. Smart, because even from half a kilometer away you can smell it. That rotting shellfish stench mixed with something chemical and wrong. Your nose has never gotten used to it. 4 years of regular visits and it still makes you want to gag. The complex is bigger than you remember. Your father has expanded. 5 buildings now instead of 3. More vats, more workers, more piles of crushed shells that stretch out like small mountains of spiny death. Business is good, your father says, seeing your expression. The Assyrians want purple. The Egyptians want purple. Even the Greeks are starting to buy, though they're cheap bastards who always try to negotiate down. He spits. Everyone wants purple, only we know how to make it properly. Sidon makes it too, you point out. Sidon makes garbage, your father says flatly. Their purple fades, ours doesn't. You know why? You shake your head. Because I'm about to show you. He leads you into the main building. The smell inside is apocalyptic. 20 workers are stirring vats, extracting glands, sorting shells. Most of them have that permanent stink that clings to dye workers. The smell that never washes off completely. The smell that makes women refuse to marry you unless the money is really, really good. Your father walks past all the active vats to a small room at the back. It's locked. He produces a key from around his neck, opens the door. Inside is darker, cooler. Shelves line the walls covered with small clay jars. Each jar is labelled in your family's personal shorthand, a code based on the Phoenician alphabet but modified so outsiders can't read it. This, your father says, is what separates us from everyone else. He picks up one jar, opens it. Inside is a powder, reddish-brown, fine as dust. Crushed shells from the red murex, he explains. Different species than the ones we use for purple, found only off the coast near Mogador, way out past the Pillars of Hercules. Cost me half my profits last year to establish a supply line. He sets it down, picks up another jar. This one is from the banded murex, gives a bluer shade. This third one, mystery ingredient. You want to know what it is? Yes? Urine. You stare at him. Human urine, specifically, your father continues, completely serious. Mixed with wood ash, acts as a mordant, makes the dye stick to the fabric permanently. Without it, the purple washes out after a few months. With it, lasts decades, gets deeper the older it gets. So, the royal courts of Egypt and Mesopotamia are wearing fabric dyed in piss and rotting snail glands. The rich and powerful of the ancient world are basically wearing processed death and human waste. And they pay fortunes for the privilege. You're laughing, your father observes. Sorry, don't be. It's funny. It's also brilliant. You think the Sidonians know about the urine? They don't. Their dye fades because they skip this step. Our dye is permanent because we're willing to do what they won't. He pauses. Which brings me to the real secret. He pulls out a fourth jar, smaller than the others. The label is in code you can't read. This is the ratio, your father says. How much murex extract, how much of each powder, how much mordant, the exact temperatures, the timing on the sunlight exposure. Get one thing wrong and you waste months of work and thousands of shekels in materials. He hands you the jar. This stays in the family. Nobody else sees it. Nobody else knows it. This is why we're rich and Sidon is scrambling to keep up. You take the jar carefully. It's heavy for its size. Inside, instead of powder, is a small clay tablet covered in writing. Your father's handwriting, dense and precise. This is it, the formula, the thing that makes your family's fortune. Memorize it, your father says. Then destroy the tablet. Never write it down again. Pass it to your son verbally when he's ready. That's how my father taught me. That's how you'll teach your children. So, you spend the next 2 weeks at Sarepta learning, really learning, the exact temperature the vat needs to be, how to tell by touch, by smell, by the way the mixture bubbles, the precise moment when the glands have rotted enough but not too much, how to expose the dye to sunlight at the right angle, the right duration, watching the colour shift from green to blue to purple to that perfect deep shade that screams royalty. It's insanely complicated. And dangerous, not just you might lose money, dangerous, actually dangerous. The chemicals in the vats can burn your skin, the shells can slice your hands open, workers occasionally pass out from the fumes. One man, you learn, died 3 years ago when a vat tipped over and spilled its contents on him. The rotting mixture ate through his skin before anyone could wash it off. But the money, God, the money. Your father shows you the accounts one evening after work, sitting in his small office at Sarepta, wine in hand, going over the clay tablets that record every transaction. Last year, he says, we processed 200,000 murex shells. That gave us 16 pounds of finished dye powder. We sold it for 4,000 silver shekels. Our costs were maybe 500 shekels. Everything else is profit. You do the math in your head. That's insane profit margin. No wonder your family lives well. No wonder your father can afford to expand the workshops. No wonder he's negotiating to buy a second ship. This year, your father continues, we're expanding. I want to process 300,000 shells, maybe more. The Assyrian court just placed a big order. King Shalmaneser wants purple for his throne room, wants enough to cover every wall, every curtain, everything. He grins. It's going to cost him approximately what he paid to conquer half of Syria. Can we deliver that much? With your help? Yes. I need you here full-time. No more sailing to Cyprus. No more screwing around in Tyre. You're a master dyer now. Act like it. So you do. Age 18 to 22 becomes a blur of murex shells and stinking vats. You get good at it. Really good. You can tell the quality of a shell just by looking at it. You can smell when a vat is ready. You can judge the exact moment to expose the dye to sunlight, pulling it at the peak moment when the color is perfect. Your hands are permanently stained, purple under your fingernails, purple in the creases of your palms. No amount of washing gets it out completely. You smell like the workshops. You smell like death and chemicals and profit. Women in Tyre literally cross the street to avoid you, but you're getting rich. At age 19, your father gives you a share of the business, 10% of the profits. It's enough to buy your own small house, not big, not fancy, but yours. Stone walls, a tiny courtyard, a roof that doesn't leak. You're 19 years old and you own property in Tyre. That's huge. At age 20, a rival dye family from Sidon tries to steal the formula. They send a spy. A worker who applies for a job at Sarepta claims he's from a small village near Byblos, works hard for 3 months while watching everything. Your father figures it out when the guy asks too many questions about the ratios. The spy disappears. You don't ask what happened to him. In the competitive world of Phoenician dye production, trade secrets are protected with violence when necessary. Corporate espionage is real, and the consequences are permanent. Sidon gets the message. They stop trying to steal your formula and instead focus on undercutting your prices. It doesn't work. Their purple still fades. Yours doesn't. Quality wins. At age 21, you personally oversee your first major shipment. Egyptian royal court. A pharaoh's daughter is getting married and they want purple cloth for the entire wedding party. Enough purple to dye 200 garments. That's roughly 4 pounds of dye powder. That's 50,000 murex shells processed. That's 6 months of work and every available worker in the Sarepta complex. The pressure is intense. One mistake and you lose everything. The shells are expensive. The labor is expensive. If you screw up the ratios, if the color is off, if anything goes wrong, your family eats the cost and loses the client forever. You don't screw up. The dye is perfect. Deep purple, almost black in shadow, brilliant violet in sunlight, permanent, worth every shekel the Egyptians are paying, which is approximately the cost of a small warship. You accompany the shipment personally, sailing to Egypt on your father's new ship, the Fortune of Tyre, with 4 pounds of purple dye sealed in wax-coated jars and guarded by 6 armed men who would die before letting pirates take the cargo. The trip takes 2 weeks. The Nile Delta is humid and green, completely different from rocky Tyre. The Egyptian court is in Memphis, far inland up the river. You travel by boat, watching the green fields slide past, the farmers working irrigation channels, the massive stone monuments that these people build, like your people build ships. The palace is insane. Bigger than anything in Tyre, stone and gold and paintings everywhere. The Egyptians love colour, love decoration, love showing off their wealth. They examine the dye carefully, test it on sample fabric, check it in sunlight and shadow. They love it. Payment is made in gold. Actual gold, not silver. 40 Egyptian gold pieces, each one stamped with the pharaoh's seal. Worth more than your house back in Tyre. Worth more than most people in Tyre will see in their entire lives. You sail home with the gold locked in a chest and that same guard of 6 armed men, because pirates would murder everyone on this ship for half that amount. Back in Tyre, your father weighs the gold, nods, and hands you your share. 4 gold pieces. Your cut of the deal. Not bad for a kid who used to cry about the smell, he says. You laugh, because yeah, you did cry. That first visit to the workshops when you were 5 years old. You absolutely cried. The smell was too much. The sight of the rotting shells, the stinking vats, the workers with their stained hands and permanent stench. But you learned. You adapted. You became what you needed to become. At age 22, you're one of the wealthiest young men in Tyre. Not richest. Your father still controls most of the family fortune, but wealthy enough that people know your name. Wealthy enough that other merchant families are starting to make subtle inquiries about marriage arrangements. Wealthy enough that you walk through Tyre's markets and shop owners call you master and offer you their best goods. You still smell like the workshops. You still have purple under your fingernails. You still live with the knowledge that your fortune comes from crushing snails and letting their glands rot in piss and brine. But you have gold. You have property. You have a future. One evening, you're sitting with your father on the roof of the family house. The sun is setting over the Mediterranean, painting the sky in shades that no amount of dye could replicate. The harbour below is full of ships from everywhere. The smell of the city drifts up. Cooking fires, salt water, fish, cedar wood. "You've done well," your father says. Not a compliment exactly, more like a statement of fact. "I learned from the best." You did, and now you're going to teach others. I'm expanding again, opening a third workshop complex near Beirut. I want you to run it. Your own workshop, full control, at age 22. What's the catch, you ask? Because there's always a catch. You need to get married first, your father says bluntly. The merchant families in Beirut won't trust an unmarried kid to run a major operation. They need to see stability, family, someone with roots. Ah, so this is about business, not your happiness. Typical. I've already made inquiries, your father continues. There's a daughter of a glass merchant in Sidon. Good family, good connections, comes with a dowry of 300 silver shekels and a network of buyers in Cyprus. He pauses. She's also apparently quite beautiful, but that's secondary to the business advantages. When do I meet her? Next month, during the festival of Melkart. Her father is bringing her to Tyre specifically to meet you. Your father refills his wine cup. Don't screw this up. We need those Cypriot connections. So that's your life at 22. Master dyer, property owner, about to be married for business reasons to a woman you've never met, running a workshop complex that will employ 50 people and process over 300,000 Murex shells per year. You're living the dream, the Phoenician dream, the one where you're born into a decent family, work your ass off, learn a valuable trade, and climb the ladder of success one rotting snail at a time. Could be worse, could be farming, could be pulling an oar on someone else's ship, could be one of the workshop labourers who breathes in fumes all day for a handful of silver per month. Instead, you're the guy who signs their paychecks, the guy who controls the secret formula, the guy who, when Egyptian pharaohs want purple, gets rich. The Mediterranean sunset fades to darkness. The stars come out. Same stars your ancestors used to navigate. Same stars that guided you to Cyprus when you were 14. Same stars that will guide your ships to every corner of the known world. Below, in the workshops, workers are still processing the day's catch of murex, still cracking shells, still sorting glands, still stirring vats of rotting snail guts that will, somehow, magically transform into the most expensive colour in human history. Your father stands, stretches. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we're meeting with a buyer from Carthage. Big order. They're building a new temple and want purple curtains. He heads toward the stairs. Oh, and wash before the meeting. You smell like death. You smell like profit, but sure you'll wash. You're Balhanan, son of a dye merchant, master of the purple trade. You're 22 years old and the world is basically your oyster, or your murex snail anyway. Same thing. The marriage happens during the festival of Melkart. Her name is Umilk. She's 19, daughter of a glass merchant from Sidon, and when you first see her at the temple ceremony, your main thought is that your father understated things. She's not quite beautiful, she's gorgeous. Dark eyes, braided hair adorned with small glass beads from her father's workshops, wearing a dress dyed with, you can't help but notice, inferior Sidonian purple that's already starting to fade. You get married in front of about 200 witnesses. The ceremony is mostly business. Her father transfers the dowry, 300 silver shekels, plus those promised Cypriot trade connections. You provide the bride price, 500 shekels, and a guarantee of employment for her younger brother in your workshops. The priests sacrifice a ram to Melkart. Everyone drinks too much wine. Done. That night, in your small house with the stone walls and tiny courtyard, Umilk looks around and laughs. "What?" you ask. "I thought you were rich," she says. "Not mean, just stating facts. I am rich. This is just where I sleep. Where's the rest of your money?" Invested in 3 workshop complexes, 2 ships, and approximately 400,000 Murex shells that are currently rotting in vats. She thinks about this, nods. Okay, that's actually smart. You like her immediately. Turns out marrying for business connections doesn't mean you can't also marry someone smart. Umilk grew up in her father's glass workshops the same way you grew up in dye production. She knows trade, she knows negotiations, she knows the difference between Egyptian-style glass and Mesopotamian-style, knows which buyers want what, knows how to read a contract and spot the places where someone's trying to screw you. Within a month, she's reorganizing your household accounts. Within 3 months, she's suggesting you diversify. "Purple is great," she says one evening over dinner. You're eating fish stew, sitting in the courtyard, watching stars appear over Tyre. But you're putting all your resources into one product. What happens if the Egyptian court decides they're tired of purple? What if Sidon finally figures out your formula? What if the Assyrians conquer us and tax dye production into bankruptcy? Cheerful thoughts, you observe. I'm serious. You need multiple income sources. My father makes glass. You make dye. Why not expand into other trades? Diversify the risk? She's right. Of course she's right. So at age 25, you start expanding beyond dye. First move, glass. Your father-in-law's workshops are in Sidon, which annoys you on principle because Sidon, but the man knows his craft. Phoenician glass is famous for a reason. The furnaces in Sidon and Sarepta can reach temperatures that turn sand and plant ash into transparent or opaque glass in shades of blue-green that nobody else can replicate. The process is wild. You visit the workshops to learn it. Sand from specific beaches mixed with crushed plant ash. The mixture is heated in clay crucibles in furnaces that burn so hot you can't stand within 10 feet without your skin blistering. The molten glass is either blown into shapes, plates, cups, bottles, or cast into molds. Then it's cooled slowly, carefully, because if you cool it too fast, the whole thing shatters. The furnaces are run by specialists who judge the temperature by colour. Orange means not hot enough, white means too hot. That specific shade of yellow-orange means perfect. They can tell by looking, by listening to how the fire sounds, by the way the air shimmers above the furnace mouth. It's as much art as science. I want to invest, you tell your father-in-law after watching the process. You want to compete with me? He raises an eyebrow. I want to partner with you. You provide the glass expertise. I provide capital and distribution networks. We split profits. He considers this. Smart man, your father-in-law. He knows a good deal when he hears one. 60-40 split, he says. My favour. I'm providing the actual knowledge. 55-45. I'm providing the ships and the buyers. Deal. You shake on it. Now you're in the glass business. The beauty of glass is that it's lighter than dye, but worth nearly as much by weight. A shipload of glass products, plates, beads, decorative items can sell for 800 shekels if you hit the right market. Egyptians love glass. Greeks are starting to buy. Even inland Mesopotamians want it for their temples and palaces. But glass is also fragile, incredibly fragile. You learn this the hard way on a trip to Cyprus when a wave hits your ship wrong and 3 crates of glass shatter. That's 200 shekels of merchandise turned into expensive sand. Your crew looks at you nervously, waiting for you to explode. You don't explode, you just make a note. Pack the glass better, more linen wrapping, more rope securing the crates, maybe build special compartments in the hull designed specifically for fragile cargo. Age 26 brings your second diversification, cedarwood. The mountains behind the Phoenician coast are covered with cedar forests. These trees are massive, 100 feet tall, trunks 6 feet wide, wood so strong and aromatic that everybody wants it. Egypt has basically no trees. Mesopotamia has even fewer. They need cedar for everything. Ships, buildings, furniture, temple construction. Tyre's been selling cedar forever, but you notice something. The middlemen are making more money than the people actually cutting the trees. Why not cut out the middlemen? You hire a team of woodcutters, 30 men willing to live in the mountains for months at a time, felling trees, cutting them into manageable logs, dragging them down to the coast. It's brutal work. The mountains are steep, the trees are heavy. Men die when logs slip and crush them. Men die when they fall from cutting platforms. Men die because mountain work in Lebanese summer heat kills people. But the profit margin is insane. A single large cedar log sells for 20 shekels. Your costs per log, paying the woodcutters, transportation, bribing the local village headmen who technically control forest access, maybe 5 shekels. That's 400% markup. Egypt alone needs hundreds of logs per year. The pharaohs are always building something. Temples, palaces, boats, royal furniture. They'll pay top price for quality cedar, and Phoenician cedar is quality. The smell alone tells you that. Aromatic, lasting, resistant to rot and insects. You make your first major cedar deal with a Memphis merchant when you're 27. He wants 50 logs, large ones, minimum 3 feet diameter, for the pharaoh's new palace complex. Payment 1,000 silver shekels plus a contract for ongoing supply. We can do that, you say confidently. What you don't mention is that you currently have exactly 0 logs in inventory, and your woodcutters won't have 50 quality logs ready for at least 3 months. But that's fine. The merchant doesn't need the logs for 6 months. You have time. Your crew thinks you're crazy. What if the woodcutters don't deliver? Asks Yatunbal, who's now captain of your own ship, the Prosperity of Astarte. They'll deliver, you say. I'm paying them double the normal rate and promised bonuses for large logs. They'll deliver. They deliver. Barely. It takes 4 months instead of 3. 2 men die in the mountains, one crushed by a falling tree, one who just collapses from heat exhaustion and never wakes up. But the logs come down. 50 prime cedar logs, each one marked with your family seal to prevent theft. Transporting them to Egypt is its own adventure. The logs are too long to fit inside a normal ship, so they're lashed to the outside of the hull, floating alongside like giant fence posts. Your ship looks ridiculous, but it works. The logs arrive in Memphis intact. The Egyptian merchant examines them, nods and hands over 1,000 silver shekels. Just like that, you've more than doubled your investment. Umilk is pregnant by this point. She's 21, you're 27, and having a child is just what people do. It's expected, required really, if you want your family line to continue and your business to have an heir. The baby is born in early spring. A boy. You name him Hiram, after the legendary king of Tyre who built temples and expanded the city's influence. Your father approves, your mother cries happy tears, Umilk recovers quickly and is back to managing household accounts within 2 weeks. Because that's just how she operates. "We need a bigger house," she announces one evening. She's right. Your small house with its tiny courtyard isn't going to work with a baby. Plus, Umilk's sister just moved in to help with childcare. Plus, your younger brother occasionally crashes here when he's in town. Too many people, not enough space. "I'm looking at properties," you tell her. "There's a place near the harbour. 3 levels, 6 rooms, actual courtyard with a cistern. Owner wants 800 shekels. "Too much," Umilk says immediately. "That area floods during winter storms. Offer 500. Mention the flooding problem. He'll take 600. She's right about that too. The owner takes 600 shekels and you move into a house that actually befits your status as a successful merchant. Age 28, you commission your own ship. Not just buying one, actually building one from scratch, designed exactly how you want it. You work with the best shipbuilders in Tyre, the guys who've been constructing vessels for 40 years and know every trick in the trade. "I want something that can handle both cargo and speed," you tell them. 55 feet long, cedar hull, mortise and tenon joints throughout, double rigging for better sail control, and I want storage compartments specifically designed for different cargo types. One section for amphoras, one for glass, one for dye pots that need climate control. The master builder looks at you like you're speaking Greek. Climate control? Dye doesn't react well to temperature extremes. The sealed pots crack if they get too hot. I need a section of hull that stays cooler, maybe built with a double wall for insulation. Figure it out. He figures it out. The ship takes 6 months to build. You visit the shipyard every week watching the progress. First, the keel is laid, a single massive cedar log, straight as possible, forming the ship's spine. Then the planks are fitted, one by one, each joint carefully measured and cut. The Morrison technique your people perfected, rectangular holes cut into the edges of planks, wooden tenons fitted into those holes, then pegs driven through to lock everything together. It's like watching someone assemble the world's largest and most expensive puzzle. The rigging is next. Ropes made from Egyptian flax treated with pitch to resist rot. The sail is woven from linen, then dyed red using cheaper dye than your family produces. No point putting premium purple on a sail that's going to get shredded by wind and salt spray. The horse-headed prow is carved last, a traditional Phoenician touch, the head of a horse rising from the bow, supposedly bringing good luck and fair winds. Whether it actually works is debatable, but every Phoenician ship has one, so why risk it? The ship costs you 1,800 shekels. That's more than your house, more than 2 years' profit from the dye business, but it's worth it. This ship is yours, designed for your business needs, fast enough to outrun pirates, strong enough to handle storms, big enough to carry serious cargo, but small enough to maneuver into tight harbours. You name her the Fortune's Promise. The launch ceremony happens on a perfect spring morning. The ship is blessed by priests of Melkart. Your father is there, nodding approval. Umilk is there with baby Hiram, who's completely uninterested in ships and mostly wants to eat. Half of Tyre's merchant class shows up because ship launches are social events where deals get made and alliances get formed. The Fortune's Promise slides into the harbour. She floats. The hull is sound. The shipbuilders look relieved. Sometimes new ships sink immediately if something's wrong with the construction, which would be embarrassing and expensive. Captain Yatonbal walks the deck testing everything, the steering oar, the rigging, the deck planks. He climbs the mast to check the top rigging. He goes below to inspect the hull from inside. Finally, he climbs back up and grins. She's solid. he announces. "Give me a crew and I'll sail her to the end of the world." "How about Sicily?" you suggest. "I've got a buyer in Syracuse who wants glass and dye. You leave next week." "Next week? I need to break her in first, see how she handles." "You'll break her in on the way to Sicily. We've got deadlines." Yatonbal shakes his head, laughing. "You're going to work me to death. You know that, right? You'll die rich, though." Fair enough. By age 29, you're running 3 separate trade operations simultaneously. The dye business, still your core operation. 3 workshop complexes churning out purple dye for buyers across the Mediterranean. Your father handles the Sarepta complex. You run the Beirut operation. A cousin manages a smaller setup near Byblos. The glass partnership with your father-in-law, furnaces in Sidon producing plates, cups, beads, decorative items. Umilk handles the logistics because she knows the business better than anyone. She's negotiating deals while nursing a baby, which is frankly impressive. And the cedarwood operation, your mountain crews cutting trees, your coastal teams processing and transporting logs. Egypt is your main buyer, but you're expanding into Mesopotamia, where the Assyrian kings are building like crazy and need wood for everything. You have 5 ships now, the Fortune's Promise, plus 4 others in your small fleet. Not a massive operation like some of the big Tyrian merchant families who have 20 or 30 ships, but respectable, growing. The money is good, really good. You're clearing maybe 3,000 shekels per year across all operations. That's wealth. That's the kind of money that means your son will never have to work in stinking dye vats unless he wants to. That's the kind of money that buys influence, respect, and a seat at the table when Tyre's merchant council meets to discuss important things. But it's also risky. The more you expand, the more things can go wrong. A ship sinks in a storm near Crete. That's 800 shekels of cargo gone, plus the ship itself, plus the crew. You have to pay death benefits to their families. That's just how it works. Take care of your people or nobody will sail for you. A cedar shipment gets seized by Egyptian customs because someone didn't bribe the right official. It takes 3 months and 200 shekels in additional bribes to get it released. By that time, your buyer has gone elsewhere. A batch of glass comes out wrong, something with the furnace temperature. The whole run is cloudy and brittle, unsellable. Your father-in-law is furious. You eat the loss, 300 shekels down the drain. This is trade, this is business. You win more than you lose, but the losses hurt. Age 30 finds you standing on the roof of your house at dawn, watching the harbour wake up. 5 ships preparing to sail, 2 headed to Egypt, 1 to Cyprus, 1 to Sicily, 1 all the way to Sardinia to establish a new trade relationship, each ship carrying your cargo, your investment, your reputation. Umilk joins you on the roof. She's pregnant again. Another baby coming in a few months. Hiram is 3 years old now, already learning his letters, already asking about ships and trade. Your father jokes that the kid has salt water in his veins. "You've done well," Umilk says quietly. "We've done well," you correct. "That glass deal wouldn't have happened without you. Neither would half the Egyptian contracts." "True, I'm excellent." She's not joking. She knows her worth. You love that about her. Below, the Fortune's Promise is loading cargo for Egypt. Purple dye, glass plates, cedar logs, a mixed shipment that represents everything you've built. The sun is rising over the Mediterranean, painting the water gold. The smell of the city drifts up, bread baking, fish cooking, the distant stink of the dye workshops. Tyre is thriving. Your people are thriving. The Phoenician city-states are at their peak, controlling trade routes from one end of the Mediterranean to the other. Colonies are being founded in North Africa, Spain, Sicily. The alphabet you learned as a child is spreading, being adapted by Greeks and others who recognize its efficiency. This is your world. This is your moment. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know it can't last forever. Nothing does. Empires rise, empires fall, but right now, right here, you're riding the wave, making money, raising a family, building something that will outlast you. When are you going to slow down? Umilk asks. When I'm dead, you say. Very romantic. You married me for my business connections, not my poetry. Fair point. She heads back toward the stairs. Come eat breakfast. Hiram wants to hear stories about sailing. He's obsessed with boats. Wonder where he gets that. You follow her down. The ships can wait another hour. Your family can't, unlike your clean bed right now, with your full stomach and your safe walls and your life where nobody's trying to kill you for a shipload of purple dye, where you can just exist without constantly calculating profit margins and survival odds. You're 30 years old in ancient Tyre, master of purple dye, glass merchant, cedar trader, ship owner, and you still have decades ahead of you, decades of business, challenge, risk, and reward. But first, breakfast with your family. Some things matter more than profit. Not many things, but some. The festival of Melkart comes around every year like clockwork. You're 32 when you realize that religious festivals are basically mandatory business networking events disguised as worship, which sounds cynical, but it's true. Every merchant in Tyre shows up, every ship captain, every workshop owner, everyone who matters. The festival lasts 3 days. 3 days of sacrifices, processions, feasting, and making deals while pretending you're just there to honor the gods. Day 1 starts before dawn. You're at the Temple of Melkart with your entire household. Umilk, pregnant again with your 3rd child. Hiram, now 5 years old and bored already. Your daughter Batnoam, 3 years old, who keeps trying to pet the sacrificial ram like it's a pet instead of tomorrow's offering. Don't touch that, Umilk hisses, grabbing Batnoam's hand. But it's soft. It's dinner for the gods. Leave it alone. The temple is massive, stone columns rising 50 feet, cedarwood ceiling beams carved with images of Melkart discovering the purple dye, Melkart protecting ships, Melkart blessing merchants with wealth. The whole place smells like incense and old blood from years of sacrifices. The high priest is a guy named Abibal. He's maybe 60, wearing robes dyed with your family's purple, which makes you feel good about your business contributions to religious life. He's also wearing more gold jewelry than most people will see in their lifetime. Priests do okay for themselves. Brothers and sisters of Tyre, Abibal begins, his voice echoing in the temple. We gather to honor Melkart, Lord of the Sea, protector of merchants, guardian of our city. The crowd responds in unison. Praise Melkart. You say it too. Everyone says it. It's just what you do. Whether you actually believe Melkart is out there controlling the seas is almost irrelevant. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But every ship you own has a small statue of Melkart in the captain's quarters, because why risk it? The first sacrifice happens at sunrise, a ram throat cut, blood drained into a bronze bowl. The priests burn parts of it on the altar, the smoke rising up to wherever gods hang out. The rest of the meat will be distributed later to the temple staff and the poor. Nothing gets wasted. Why are they killing the sheep? Hiram whispers. It's not a sheep, it's a ram. You whisper back, and we're feeding the gods. Can't gods get their own food? Shh, just watch. Kids ask the best questions at the worst times. After the sacrifice comes the procession through the city. The priests carry a statue of Melkart on a platform, parading it through Tyre's streets while everyone follows. Musicians play drums and lyres. People sing hymns. Merchants throw coins and small offerings. It's chaos, but organized chaos. You walk with your family, following the procession. Around you, other merchant families do the same. Your father is a few rows back, walking with your mother and your younger siblings. Umilk's father came from Sidon for the festival, which is a big deal considering how competitive the cities are. Baal Hannon, someone calls your name. You turn. It's Hamilcar, a merchant who owns 4 ships and deals mainly in grain from Egypt. He's waving you over. I need to talk business, you say quietly to Umilk. Of course you do. Go. I'll watch the children. You work your way through the crowd to Hamilcar. He's smiling that smile that means he wants something. Good festival, he says by way of greeting. Good festival, you agree. What do you need? Direct. I like that. I'm putting together a joint venture. Big shipment to Sicily. Grain, purple dye, glass, cedar. 6 ships total. I need someone to provide the dye and glass. Interested? You are interested. Sicily is a growing market, but you don't say that. What's the split? Profits divided by cargo value. So if your dye and glass make up 30% of the cargo value, you get 30% of the profits. And if the ships sink, we all eat the loss, proportionally. Who's captaining? Yaton Baal is leading the fleet. Your guy, actually. That's why I'm asking you first. Yaton Baal. Good. You trust him. He's been sailing for you for over a decade now, never lost a ship, always brings the cargo home. I'm in, you say. Come by my house tomorrow. We'll work out details. Excellent. Praise Melkart. Praise Melkart. That's how festivals work. Pray in the morning, make deals in the afternoon. Day 2 is the big sacrifice. Not a ram this time, but a bull. Expensive animal, specially raised for this purpose. The whole city gathers at the temple to watch. The bull is led to the altar, gets blessed by the priests, and then they cut its throat. Blood everywhere. Batnome starts crying. Hiram watches with fascination. You remember being his age and having the same reaction. Death is just part of life when you grow up in the ancient world. Animals die so people can eat. Animals die so gods stay happy. The bull meat gets carved up right there. The priests take their share. The king of Tyre, there is technically a king, though he mostly just presides over religious ceremonies and lets the merchant families run everything else, gets a portion. Then the rest goes to the crowd. Your family gets a good-sized piece because you're a major contributor to the temple. You donate regularly. Purple dye for the priests' robes, silver for temple maintenance. That one time you paid for new cedar doors when the old ones rotted. Generosity to the gods pays off in social standing. That night, the feasting happens. Every household in Tyre cooks the sacrificial meat. The smell of roasting beef fills the city. Your house is packed with extended family, friends, business associates. 30 people crammed into your courtyard, eating and drinking and laughing. Umilk has organised everything perfectly. The food is amazing. Roasted bull meat, bread, lentils, figs, dates, wine from Cyprus. Your father is telling stories about his youth, how he once sailed through a storm so bad the ship was vertical going up waves. Your father-in-law's arguing with another glass merchant about furnace techniques. The kids are running around screaming, hopped up on honey cakes. To Melkart, someone shouts, raising a cup. To Melkart, everyone responds. You drink. The wine is good. The company is good. The god, wherever he is hopefully pleased with all this attention and will keep your ships safe. Around midnight, long after the kids have passed out from exhaustion, you're still up talking business with a group of merchants. Religious festivals are great networking opportunities. The Assyrians are expanding again, one merchant says quietly. They took 3 cities in Syria last month. Tributes are going up. Everyone gets quiet. The Assyrians are a problem, a big problem. The Assyrian Empire has been growing for decades, swallowing up territory, demanding tribute from everyone. Tyre has stayed independent so far, but that's only because paying tribute is cheaper than fighting a war you'd lose. How much are they demanding now, you ask? Double what we paid last year. King Shalmaneser wants gold, silver, purple dye, cedar, basically everything we produce. We can't afford to double tribute and maintain profits. We don't have a choice. It's pay or get invaded. The mood has shifted. Everyone's thinking the same thing. How long can this last? How long before the Assyrians decide tribute isn't enough and just take Tyre completely? But that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight is for celebration. Day 3 of the festival is family-focused. Parents bring children to the temple to receive blessings. You're there with Hiram and Bat-Noam, waiting in a line of families while priests bless each child individually. When it's Hiram's turn, the priest puts a hand on his head and says a prayer asking Melkart to watch over him, grant him wisdom in trade, keep him safe at sea, make him prosperous. The usual stuff. Will it work? Hiram asks you after. Will what work? The blessing. Will the god actually protect me? You think about how to answer this. You're 32. You've seen ships sink despite having Melkart statues on board. You've seen good people die young. You've seen bad people get rich. The gods are mysterious. Or maybe they just don't interfere that much. The gods help those who help themselves, you finally say. Work hard, be smart, don't take stupid risks. Then maybe Melkart will smile on you. That's not a yes. It's the best answer you're getting. Hiram thinks about this, nods. Smart kid. Your third child is born 2 months after the festival. Another boy. You name him Abd Melkart, literally servant of Melkart, because you're on a roll with the god lately, and it seems smart to stay in his good graces. Umilk recovers quickly again. She's gotten good at this whole having babies thing. By week 3, she's back to managing household accounts and negotiating glass contracts. We need a wet nurse, she announces. I can't feed him and work at the same time. Already arranged, you say. The daughter of one of the dye workers just had her own baby. She'll take care of Abd Melkart during the day. You're getting better at this husband thing. I learn fast. Age 33 brings the spring planting festival. Different god, Dagon, god of wheat and grain. Another round of sacrifices, processions and deals made while pretending to be pious. Age 34, you attend the festival of Astarte, the fertility goddess. This one is popular with women, though men show up too because it's polite, and also there are business opportunities. Umilk is heavily involved, making offerings at the temple, praying for healthy children and a prosperous household. The festival of Astarte is different from Melkart's festival. More music, more dancing, more celebration of life and fertility, less blood sacrifice, more offerings of wine and flowers and small clay figurines. The atmosphere is lighter, happier. Do you think the gods actually listen? Umilk asks one evening after the festival. You're sitting on the roof again. The kids are asleep. The city is quiet. Stars fill the sky. Those same stars that guide your ships. Those same stars that people have been navigating by for centuries. I think they might, you say. Or maybe they don't. But praying makes people feel better. Offering sacrifices gives us a sense of control. And the festivals bring everyone together. You pause. Plus, the gods haven't killed me yet for being skeptical, so maybe they're more understanding than the priests say. That's almost philosophical. I'm getting old. Old people get philosophical. You're 34. Exactly. Ancient. She laughs. You love that sound. The religious calendar runs your life in ways you never expected. Spring planting requires offerings to Dagon. Summer sailing season starts with sacrifices to Melkart. Fall harvest means more Dagon offerings. Winter storms require protective rituals. Then the cycle starts again. Every major business venture gets blessed by priests. Every new ship gets consecrated at the temple. Every cargo shipment includes a small offering, a jar of wine, some oil, maybe a silver coin, to keep the gods happy and the pirates away. Your ships all have small altars on deck, just tiny spaces where the captain can make offerings during the voyage, pour some wine into the sea, burn some incense, ask the gods to keep the wind steady and the waves calm. Whether it works or not, it makes the sailors feel better. And crew morale matters. By age 35, you've settled into a rhythm with the religious calendar. First month, Festival of Melkart. Make offerings, network with merchants, secure contracts for the sailing season. Third month, Spring Planting Festival. Offer to Dagon, pray for good harvests in Egypt, because your grain suppliers need successful crops. Fifth month, begin sailing season. Consecrate ships, bless crews, make sacrifices for safe voyages. Seventh month, midsummer offerings. Thank Melkart for protecting ships so far. Pray for continued safety. Ninth month, Harvest Thanksgiving. More offerings to Dagon, celebration of successful trade season. 11th month, Winter Preparation, sacrifices to ward off storms, prayers for ships that need to make late-season runs. It's exhausting and expensive. The temple donations alone run you 100 shekels per year. The sacrificial animals cost money. The wine and oil for offerings add up. The time spent at festivals is time not spent working. But it's also necessary. This is how society works. Religion binds the community together. The festivals are where deals get made. The temple is where merchant families show their status and wealth. The gods, real or not, provide a framework for understanding a chaotic world. One evening, Hiram asks you a question that stops you cold. "Father, do you believe in the gods?" He's 7 now. Old enough to think deeply, young enough to ask honest questions. You consider lying, making it simple, but Hiram is smart. He deserves better. "I believe in something," you say carefully. Whether that something is Melkart and Astarte and Dagon specifically, or whether it's just forces we don't understand, I can't say for certain. But I believe there's more to the world than what we can see and touch. "But you still make sacrifices." "I do, because even if I'm not completely sure the gods are there, I'm not willing to risk being wrong. And because the rituals matter, they bring people together, they give us comfort, they help us make sense of storms and sickness and death." That seems complicated. It is complicated. Most important things are. Hiram chews on this. Then, "When I'm older, will I have to do all the festival stuff?" Yes, that's part of being a merchant, part of being Phoenician. We honor the gods, we honor our city, we honor our ancestors. That's how it works. Even if I'm not sure I believe, even then, some things you do because they're true, some things you do because they're useful. Smart people figure out which is which. Your daughter Batnoam appears in the doorway. She's 5 now, already showing signs of her mother's sharp business mind. Mother says dinner is ready, and she says you're teaching Hiram philosophy again and need to stop before his head explodes. "Tell your mother I'm teaching him how to think." She says thinking is fine, but eating is mandatory. Can't argue with that logic. You head down to dinner. Your family gathered around a low table in the courtyard. Roasted fish, barley bread, lentil stew, dates for dessert. Simple food, but good. More than many families in Tyre have. Umilk leads a prayer before eating, thanking the gods for the food, for the family, for the prosperity. The kids join in. Baby Abdmelkart babbles along, not understanding words, but getting the rhythm. This is your life at 35. Successful merchant, devoted father, respectful citizen. You make offerings to gods you're not entirely sure exist. You attend festivals that are half worship, half business convention. You teach your children to pray and to think critically, hoping they'll figure out the balance. The Mediterranean moon rises over Tyre. Your ships are out there somewhere, sailing through darkness, captains navigating by the pole star that the Greeks named after your people. Somewhere, in workshops outside the city, workers are processing murex shells and cutting cedar logs. Somewhere in temples across the Phoenician coast, priests are preparing for tomorrow's rituals. And here you are, safe, comfortable, wealthy, surrounded by family. The gods, real or imagined, have been good to you. Or maybe you've just been lucky and smart, probably both. After dinner, after the kids are in bed, you stand on the roof one more time, looking at the stars, thinking about gods and trade and the future. Tomorrow brings another day of work, more ships to load, more deals to negotiate, more offerings to make. But tonight, you're just a man, under the same sky your ancestors watched, in the same city that's been here for centuries and will be here for centuries more, the gods willing. Hiram is 10 years old when you decide it's time he learns to write properly. Not just the basics, not just scratching out his name on a wax tablet. Real writing, the kind that lets you record contracts, track shipments, send messages to buyers in distant ports. The kind that separates successful merchants from the ones who get cheated because they can't read what they're signing. I already know how to write, Hiram protests. You know how to copy letters, you correct. That's different from writing. You're in your study, a small room off the courtyard that you've claimed as your workspace. Clay tablets line the shelves, business records going back 15 years, purchase agreements, loan documents, ship manifests. Your entire commercial empire recorded in pressed clay and Phoenician script. You grab a blank wax tablet and a bronze stylus. Write this: the ship Fortune's Promise left Tyre on the 3rd day of the month carrying 20 amphoras of olive oil bound for Cyprus. Hiram takes the stylus, starts scratching letters. His hand moves slowly, carefully. He's thinking about each letter instead of just writing. Faster, you say. In business, speed matters. If a ship captain is waiting to sail and you're taking an hour to write the manifest, he's going to leave without proper records. Hiram speeds up. The letters get sloppier but more natural. When he's done, you examine the tablet. Not bad, but you put the wrong number. You wrote 30 instead of 20. That's a 10 amphora mistake. In a real situation, that could cost us hundreds of shekels when the buyer counts the cargo and finds he's short. It's just one letter different, Hiram argues. One letter is the difference between profit and bankruptcy. Again. This time, pay attention to what you're writing, not just how you're writing it. He does it again, gets it right this time. Over the next year, Hiram becomes your unofficial apprentice scribe. He follows you to meetings, takes notes on wax tablets. He sits in the harbour office while you review ship manifests, learning to spot errors. He practices writing on broken pottery shards, ostraca, the cheap option when you don't want to waste good wax, or papyrus. By age 11, he can write a basic contract. By 12, he's keeping track of workshop inventory. By 13, he's writing letters to buyers in other cities, his handwriting neat and professional. Why is our alphabet so much easier than everyone else's? He asks one day. You're reviewing accounts together. He's noticed that Egyptian documents take forever to read because of all the complex hieroglyphs. Because we're practical, you say. The Egyptians have thousands of symbols, takes years to learn. The Mesopotamians have their cuneiform wedges, also complicated. We have 22 letters. That's it, just 22 consonants, and you can write anything. What about vowels? You figure them out from context. If I write SHP, you know I mean ship, not shop, based on what we're talking about. It's faster this way. But what if it's confusing? Then you ask for clarification, but most of the time, context makes it obvious. You point to a line on the tablet in front of you. Read this. Hiram squints at the angular letters. The die, master, received, 40, shells, for processing. Right. I didn't write out the vowels in master or received, but you knew what the words were. That's how it works. The real genius of the Phoenician alphabet isn't just that it's simple, it's that it's portable. Easy to learn means easy to spread. Your traders teach it to buyers in foreign ports. Your ship captains teach it to harbour officials. The alphabet travels with commerce, adapting to local languages, changing to fit new needs. You see it happening in real time. A Greek merchant shows up in Tyre when you're 40. He wants to buy glass, but he's also fascinated by how Phoenician traders keep records. "Show me this writing system," he says. So you do. You write out the 22 letters on a wax tablet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Wal, Zayin, all the way through to Tall. The Greek guy, his name is Cadmos or something like that, stares at the letters like they're magic. This is all of them? All of them. No other symbols? No special characters for royal names or religious terms? Nope. These 22 letters can write anything. Your name, my name, the name of the gods, trade contracts, poetry, whatever. He copies the letters carefully. This would work for Greek too. We'd just need to add some vowel sounds that you don't have. Go for it. We're not possessive about the alphabet. And that's how it spreads. Greeks take it and modify it. Later, Romans will take the Greek version and modify that. Centuries from now, half the world will be using alphabets that trace back to these simple 22 letters that some Phoenician scribes developed from Egyptian hieroglyphs. But right now, you're just trying to teach your son to write a proper bill of lading. Age 39, you hire a professional scribe to work in your harbour office full-time. His name is Yaton Bal. Different Yaton Bal from your ship captain. It's a common name. This Yaton Bal is younger, maybe 25, with ink-stained fingers and the slightly hunched posture of someone who spends all day bent over tablets. Your job is record keeping, you tell him on his first day. Every ship that comes in or goes out, you document the cargo. Every sale, you write a receipt. Every contract, you make a copy. I want duplicate records of everything. Everything? Everything. One copy stays here. One copy goes to the buyer or seller. That way, if there's ever a dispute, we have proof. Yaton Bal nods, smart enough to understand why this matters. Within a month, your record-keeping improves dramatically. You can track which ships are profitable and which aren't. You can spot patterns, like how glass sells better in Cyprus during spring, but Egyptian buyers want it in fall. You can prove to harbour officials exactly what cargo you're shipping when they try to overtax you. Writing isn't just communication, it's power. The Egyptian officials figure this out the hard way. You're 41 when you get into a dispute with a customs officer in Memphis. He claims you shorted a shipment by 5 cedar logs, owes you a penalty payment of 50 shekels. I have the manifest right here, you say, pulling out a clay tablet. Signed by your assistant inspector, 40 logs delivered. He counted them personally. The officer looks at the tablet, looks at his assistant, who's suddenly very interested in the floor. The manifest could be forged, the officer tries. Feel the clay. It's 2 months old, dried completely, and here's your assistant's seal pressed into the bottom. Unless you're saying someone forged an official seal 2 months ago, predicted this exact dispute, and made a fake tablet that perfectly matches your records. The officer backs down. Literacy saves you 50 shekels. Back in Tyre, you start teaching more people to read and write. Not everyone. That would be crazy, but your senior staff, ship captains, workshop foremen, trading agents, they all get basic literacy training. I don't need to read, complains one ship captain. I've been sailing for 30 years without writing anything down. And how many deals have you made where you couldn't prove the terms later, you ask? How many times has a buyer claimed you agreed to one price when you remember a different number? The captain grumbles but admits this has happened. Learn to write contracts, you say, even basic ones. That way, when you're in Cyprus and someone tries to renegotiate after delivery, you pull out the tablet and show them what they agreed to. 3 months later, that same captain comes back from Cyprus, grinning. You were right. Buyer tried to claim we agreed to 15 shekels per amphora instead of 20. I showed him the contract. He paid up. Literacy spreads through your organization like water through cracked stone, slowly, inevitably, changing everything. Your daughter Bat Noam wants to learn too. She's 11 when she demands you teach her. Girls don't need to read, your mother says, scandalized. Why not? Bat Noam asks. Your mother opens her mouth, closes it, can't actually come up with a good reason beyond, that's how it's always been. I'll teach her, Yumilk says, because of course she will. Yumilk learned to read from her father, and it's helped her run the glass side of the business. She's going to inherit part of this business someday. She should know how to read contracts. So Bat Noam learns. She's faster than Hiram was, picking up the letters quickly. By age 12, she's helping Yumilk manage glass inventory. By 13, she's writing letters to buyers, her handwriting neater than most professional scribes. Your daughter is smarter than your son, one merchant observes. They're both smart, you say. Hiram just takes after me, good with numbers and trade. Bat Noam takes after her mother, sharp as a bronze blade and twice as dangerous in negotiations. Age 42 finds you thinking about literacy more than you ever expected to. You're sitting in your study, surrounded by clay tablets and wax sheets and ostraca covered in writing, 15 years of business records, thousands of transactions, all documented in that simple 22-letter alphabet that takes maybe a week to learn the basics. The Egyptians still use hieroglyphs, complex, beautiful, completely impractical, takes years to become a professional scribe. The result is that only the wealthy and the temple priests can read and write. Everyone else is illiterate, dependent on scribes for everything. The Mesopotamians are similar. Their cuneiform requires extensive training. Scribes are a professional class separate from merchants and farmers, but Phoenician merchants, most of them can at least read basic trade documents. Ship captains can write manifests. Workshop foremen can track inventory. Even some dock workers can scratch out simple notes. That's revolutionary. You don't think about it that way, but it is. Your alphabet is democratizing literacy, making it accessible, spreading it across the Mediterranean as your traders teach it to local populations. The Greeks are already adapting it. Soon others will too. One evening, Hiram asks you something that makes you pause. Father, do you think writing will change the world? He's 15 now, nearly a man, starting to think about big questions. It already has, you say. Every contract we write, every record we keep, every letter we send, that's changing how trade works, making it more reliable, more honest, less dependent on memory and trust. But I mean bigger than that. Do you think people will use writing for other things, like recording history, or poetry, or laws? You think about this. Maybe. The priests already write down religious texts, the kings record their achievements, but for regular people, for merchants and farmers and craftsmen, that's new. That's what our alphabet makes possible. So we're part of something important. We're part of something practical that happens to be important. We didn't set out to change the world. We just wanted a better way to track cargo. You ruffle his hair. But yeah, I guess we're part of something that'll outlast us. The night is quiet. The Mediterranean breeze drifts through the study window, carrying the salt smell of the sea. Somewhere in the harbour, a ship is preparing to sail at dawn. The captain is probably writing out his manifest right now, using the alphabet that started here in cities like Tyre and Byblos and Sidon. 22 letters, that's all it took. 22 simple angular symbols that anyone can learn. No special training required. No years studying with temple priests. Just 22 letters that can be scratched onto wax, pressed into clay, written on papyrus, carved into stone. You lean back in your chair. Your eyes are tired from reading contracts all day. Your hand has a permanent callus from holding a stylus. But you can read and write, and that gives you power. Your children can read and write. Your grandchildren, when Hiram eventually gets married and provides them, they'll read and write too. Literacy will be normal for your family line. That's wealth that can't be measured in shekels, unlike your comfortable bed where you're lying right now. With your full belly and your soft pillows and your life where you don't have to track shipments or write manifests or teach children their letters. You can just rest, just exist, just be grateful you're not a Phoenician merchant in 820 BC trying to remember if that Egyptian buyer said 20 shekels or 30 and having no way to prove it. Writing changes everything, but for now, let your eyes close. Let the words fade. Let the alphabet rest until tomorrow when it'll be used again to record another deal, another shipment, another piece of the vast commercial network that connects the Mediterranean world. 22 letters. Simple, efficient, revolutionary, just like the people who created them. You're 45 when the Assyrians come to Tyre, not with an army, not yet, just a delegation, 20 soldiers, 2 scribes, and a representative of King Tiglath-Pileser III, who introduces himself as Ashur-nasir-pal and makes it very clear that this isn't a negotiation. The meeting happens in the throne room of Tyre's king, which is generous calling it a throne room, more like a big hall with a fancy chair. Tyre's king is named Hiram III, not related to your son despite sharing a name, and he's maybe 35 years old, good at religious ceremonies, less good at dealing with empires that could flatten your city in a week. You're there as part of the merchant council, 12 of the wealthiest traders in Tyre, the men who actually run the city while the king waves incense around temples. Ashur-nasir-pal stands in front of the king but addresses all of you. King Tiglath-Pileser, ruler of Assyria, Babylon, and all lands between the rivers, sends greetings to the people of Tyre. It's not a greeting. Everyone knows it's not a greeting. Assyria recognizes Tyre's importance as a trading center, the representative continues. We have no desire to disrupt your commerce. We simply require acknowledgement of Assyrian supremacy and regular tribute payments. There it is, the word nobody wants to hear. Tribute. How much tribute? One merchant asks. Ashur-nasir-pal smiles, not a friendly smile. 2,000 shekels of silver annually, 500 pounds of purple dye, 100 cedar logs, 20 talents of copper, 10 talents of gold. The room goes dead silent. That's more than Tyre's entire annual profit from foreign trade. That's bankruptcy. That's the end of the Phoenician Golden Age right there in one tribute demand. That's impossible, King Hiram says. His voice cracks slightly. We can't possibly... The alternative, Ashurnasirpal interrupts smoothly, is that the Assyrian army pays Tyre a visit. We recently visited Damascus. They initially refused tribute as well. Would you like to know what Damascus looks like now? Nobody asks. Everyone's heard. Damascus refused Assyrian demands. The Assyrian army showed up. 3,000 soldiers died. The city walls were torn down. The population was enslaved. Damascus exists now as an Assyrian province, not an independent city. We'll pay, another merchant says quickly. Lulai, owner of the biggest shipping fleet in Tyre, will need time to organise the payment schedule, but yes, we'll pay. Excellent, Ashurnasirpal says. First payment due in 3 months. Every year thereafter, same amount. Failure to pay results in military intervention. He pauses. Oh, and Assyria also requires exclusive trading rights for certain goods. Details to follow. The Assyrian delegation leaves. Everyone stays seated in stunned silence. Finally, King Hiram speaks. How do we do this? How do we possibly pay that much every year? We double production, Lulai says. Work the workshops harder, sail more voyages, cut costs everywhere. We can't double production without doubling workers, you point out, and we can't afford to double wages if all our profits are going to Assyria. Then we don't double wages, another merchant says. We work people harder for the same pay. That's how you get rebellions, you counter. Overworked, underpaid labourers don't stay loyal. They steal, they sabotage, they run away. So what do you suggest? Lulai snaps. I suggest we get creative, expand into new markets, find new buyers willing to pay premium prices, negotiate better deals with existing customers, and yes, cut costs, but smartly, not by abusing our workers. The arguing goes on for hours. Eventually, a plan emerges. Not a great plan, but a plan. Tyre will pay the tribute. Production will increase by maybe 50% through efficiency improvements and longer work hours. Trade routes will expand into new markets. Sardinia, southern Spain, anywhere that hasn't been fully exploited yet. Prices will go up on everything because buyers have no choice. Only Phoenician cities produce purple dye and quality glass. And everyone will take smaller profit margins. Everyone, from the king down to the merchants down to the workshop foreman, shared sacrifice to keep the city independent. Well, independent. Paying tribute to an empire that could destroy you isn't exactly independence, but it's better than being enslaved. You walk home that evening in a daze. The sun is setting over the Mediterranean. Ships are in the harbour, oblivious to the fact that their cargo will now be tithed to Assyria. The city looks the same as always, but everything just changed. Umilk is waiting when you arrive. She knows something's wrong just by looking at your face. How bad? She asks. Bad. Assyrian tribute. 2,000 shekels annually, plus huge quantities of dye, cedar, copper, and gold. She does the math instantly. That's everything. That's all our profit and then some. I know. Can we afford it? Collectively, yes. Tyre as a city can probably manage. But individual families, it's going to hurt. A lot. Over the next 3 months, you restructure your entire business. The dye workshops run longer hours. Your workers used to do 8 hours daily. Now it's 10. You compensate by adding meal breaks and slightly increasing pay. Not much, but enough to prevent mass departures. Still, you lose workers. Some to age, some to exhaustion, some who just quit because the work isn't worth it anymore. You replace them with younger workers, teenagers willing to learn the trade. It's cheaper, but they're slower and make more mistakes. Your production quality dips slightly. Not enough that buyers notice immediately, but you notice. That perfect deep purple that doesn't fade. Now it's more like pretty good purple that fades after a decade instead of never. Good enough. Has to be. The glass operation hits similar problems. Your father-in-law is getting old. He's 62 now, and the stress is killing him. Literally, he has a stroke 4 months after the Assyrian tribute starts. Survives, but he's weaker now, can barely walk. UMilk has to take over the glass business completely. She's 40 years old, managing a household, running a glass operation, helping coordinate your cedar exports, and dealing with Assyrian inspectors who show up randomly to verify production numbers. "I'm tired," she admits one night. You haven't heard her say that before, not once in 20 years of marriage. "I know. I mean really tired, bone tired, the kind where you wake up exhausted. Can you reduce hours? Delegate more?" To who? Everyone's already working at capacity. There's no slack in the system anymore. That's the new reality. No slack, no margin for error. Everything operating at maximum efficiency just to stay afloat. The cedar business gets worse. Assyria wants logs. Lots of logs. Your mountain crews are cutting trees faster than forests can regrow. You know this is unsustainable. In 10 years, maybe 20, the accessible cedar will be gone. But what choice do you have? Cut trees now or fail to pay tribute and watch Assyrian soldiers destroy Tyre? You start having nightmares about deforestation. Stupid, really, but the dreams are vivid. Mountains stripped bare, mudslides destroying villages, future generations cursing your name for destroying their inheritance. During the day, you sign contracts for more logging crews. At night, you dream about ecological collapse. Year 46, Sidon rebels. The Sidonian Merchant Council decides they're done with Assyrian tribute. They refuse payment, kill the Assyrian tax collectors, and declare independence. It's incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. The Assyrian army arrives 2 weeks later. 5,000 soldiers, siege engines, the full horror show. The siege lasts 3 months. You can see the smoke from Tyre. Black columns rising from the north where Sidon is burning. Refugees stream south, heading for Tyre or other cities. They bring stories about starvation, disease, people eating leather, people eating worse than leather. Sidon falls. The Assyrians don't just conquer it, they destroy it. Kill half the population, enslave the other half, tear down the city walls, burn the workshops. They leave Sidon as a warning. This is what rebellion costs. A month later, Sidon starts rebuilding. But it's different now. Smaller, broken. The merchant families that ran the city are dead or enslaved. New people take over, people willing to bow to Assyria without question. The message is clear: pay tribute or die. Tyre pays tribute. Year 47, you lose a ship. Not to a storm, to pirates who specifically target Phoenician vessels because everyone knows Phoenicians carry valuable cargo. The ship is the Fortune's Promise, your personal favourite, the one you commissioned at age 28, the one with the custom climate-controlled hold. Pirates off the coast of Sicily. They board, kill the crew, take the cargo. 800 shekels of dye, glass and cedar gone, plus the ship itself worth another 1,000 shekels. And the crew, Yatonbal, who'd been sailing for you for 25 years. Your nephew. 3 men from your workshop who'd signed on for the voyage to make extra money. All dead. Their families need death benefits. You pay because that's what you do, even when you can barely afford it, even when the Assyrian tribute is due in 2 months and you're short on funds. You sell a property to cover the costs. One of your rental houses near the harbour gets you enough to pay death benefits and make the tribute payment. Barely. Hiram is 22 now. He's been working full-time in the business for 5 years, learning everything. He finds you in your study the night after you sold the house. "Father, we can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Selling assets to pay tribute. Eventually we'll run out of things to sell." "I know." "So what's the plan?" You look at your son, your heir, the one who'll have to deal with this mess after you're gone. The plan is to survive, you say. Keep the business running, keep the workers employed, keep the ships sailing, pay the tribute, don't give Assyria any excuse to destroy us, and hope that eventually something changes. That's not much of a plan. It's the only plan we've got. Year 48 brings a small victory. You discover a new market in Carthage. Carthage is a Phoenician colony founded by refugees from Tyre generations ago. It's growing fast, becoming a major power in the Western Mediterranean, and Carthage wants to maintain ties with the mother city. You negotiate a deal. Carthage will buy all the purple dye you can produce at 20% above normal prices. In exchange, you'll give them preferred access to cedarwood and glass. Both cities benefit. Both cities strengthen ties. The extra profit from Carthage sales makes that year's tribute payment manageable. Barely, but manageable. See, you tell Hiram, sometimes things work out. The celebration is short-lived. Year 49, Assyria increases the tribute. 20% hike. No explanation, no negotiation, just a letter from the regional governor. Pay more or face consequences. The Merchant Council meets again. The same arguments as 4 years ago. How do we pay? Where do we find the money? Who takes the loss? We raise prices again, someone suggests. We're already at maximum. Buyers are complaining. If we go higher, they'll find alternatives. What alternatives? Nobody else makes purple like we do. They'll use cheaper dyes. They'll wear different colours. They'll stop buying. Then we expand production again. We're already at capacity. There's no more room to expand without massive capital investment, which we can't afford because we're paying tribute. Round and round. No good answers. You're 50 years old. You've been in business for 32 years. You've survived storms, pirates, market crashes, bad investments, and family crises. But this Assyrian tribute is different. This is grinding, relentless. Every year the empire takes more. Every year you have less margin for error. One evening, you're sitting on your roof, same spot where you've sat for decades watching the Mediterranean sunset, but tonight you're thinking about the future. Hiram will inherit a business that's viable but stressed. He'll spend his life working twice as hard for half the reward. His children, your grandchildren, will grow up knowing Tyre is a subject city, not an independent power. The Phoenician Golden Age is over. This is the decline. Slow, managed, but unmistakable. Milk joins you on the roof. She's greying now, still sharp, still competent, but tired in a way that never quite goes away. What are you thinking? She asks. That we built something good and the Assyrians are slowly taking it away. They're taking our money. They can't take what we built. The ships still sail, the workshops still produce, the alphabet still spreads, Carthage is thriving, our children are literate and successful. That's not nothing. It's not what it was. Nothing ever is. She sits beside you, but we're still here, still surviving, still Phoenician. You take her hand. When I was young, I thought I'd build an empire. You did, just not the kind with armies. You built a business empire. You taught your children. You helped preserve our culture. That's enough. Maybe it is. Maybe survival is its own kind of victory. The sun sets over the Mediterranean, the same sea that's been here forever, the same sea that will be here long after the Assyrians are dust, the same sea that Phoenician ships will sail for centuries more, even under foreign rule, even paying tribute, even after independence is gone. The gods, real or imagined, watch from wherever gods watch. The ships in the harbour prepare for tomorrow's voyages. The workshops continue processing murex shells because the world still wants purple. And you're still here, 50 years old, survived everything thrown at you, adapting, enduring, Phoenician. That's the thing about your people. Empires rise and fall, conquerors come and go, but Phoenicians keep sailing, keep trading, keep surviving. The Assyrians can take your money, they can't take that. Unlike your comfortable bed where you're lying right now, where there are no tributes to pay, no empires demanding surrender, no workshop production schedules or shipping manifests or business problems that slowly grind you down year after year, just rest, just quiet, just the slow drift towards sleep. The Phoenicians survived the Assyrians, eventually survived the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. Survival is its own triumph. And tonight, you get to rest from the weight of it all. Close your eyes. Let the tribute demands fade. Let the business worries dissolve. Let the Mediterranean waves carry you somewhere peaceful. You've earned it. You're 55 when your first grandchild is born. Hiram's wife, a merchant's daughter from Byblos, delivers a healthy baby boy. They name him Baal-Hanan after you, which is touching but also means you're officially old enough to have children named after you. The baby is tiny, red-faced and loud, sleeps most of the day, cries the rest, completely normal and somehow miraculous anyway. U-Milk holds him with the ease of someone who's done this before. Remember when ours were this small? Vaguely. Mostly I remember the not sleeping. You didn't do most of the not sleeping? That was me. Fair point. The baby, little Baal-Hanan, though everyone starts calling him Baal to avoid confusion, becomes the centre of your household. Hiram and his wife live in the house next door, the one you bought them as a wedding gift, but they're over constantly. Batnome visits with her 2 children. Your youngest Abdmelkart is 20 and unmarried, but stops by to see his nephew. Your house is full, noisy, alive. Age 56 brings the realization that you're slowing down. Not dramatically, not overnight, but you notice the walk to the harbour that used to take 10 minutes now takes 15. The stairs to your study leave you winded. Your hands, stained purple for decades, now ache in the mornings. Arthritis probably, just part of getting old. You start delegating more. Hiram handles most daily operations. Batnome runs the glass side completely now. Her father-in-law died 2 years ago, and she inherited his share of that business. Abdmelkart is learning the cedar trade, spending months in the mountains with logging crews. Your job is increasingly supervisory. Review accounts. Meet with major buyers. Attend merchant council meetings, make strategic decisions. The actual work happens without you. It's strange. You spent 50 years being essential. Now you're optional. The business runs fine whether you're there or not. That's success, U-Milk points out. You built something that works without you. That's the goal. She's right. Doesn't make it less weird. Age 57, you start teaching Baal his letters. He's 2 years old, way too young for serious education, but he likes sitting on your lap while you write on wax tablets. He grabs the stylus, makes random scratches that look nothing like letters, and beams with pride. Good job, you tell him. That's almost an aleph. It's nowhere near an aleph. But he's 2. Encouragement matters more than accuracy. Tell me about sailing, Baal demands. It's his favourite topic, ships and the sea and distant places. So you tell him about Cyprus and Egypt and Sicily, about storms and pirates and cargo holds full of purple dye, about stars that guide you home, about waves that try to kill you and winds that save you. He listens with enormous eyes. I want to sail. When you're older. How old? Older than 2. When I'm 3, older than 3. He considers this. 4, maybe 14. His face falls. 14 is an eternity when you're 2 years old. Watching Baal reminds you of being young. of wanting things, of thinking you could sail forever, work forever, live forever. You know better now. Nothing lasts forever. Not ships, not cities, not empires, definitely not people. But some things endure. The business you built, the children you raised, the grandchildren who'll carry forward after you're gone. That's as close to forever as humans get. Age 58, Assyria collapses. Not all at once, not dramatically, just slowly, inevitably, the way empires fall, internal rebellions, external invasions, economic problems, the whole massive structure that dominated the Near East for a century just starts crumbling. The tribute payments stop because there's nobody left to collect them. Tyre is functionally independent again, not because you fought for freedom, just because your overlord imploded. The merchant council celebrates, people dance in the streets, the king makes speeches about Phoenician resilience and divine favour. Melkart must be pleased with us, the gods have delivered us from tyranny, maybe. Or maybe empires just collapse sometimes, regardless of divine intervention. You're happy about the extra money, not paying tribute means better profit margins, but you're old enough now to wonder how long this independence lasts. The Assyrians fell, someone else will rise to replace them. Babylon, probably, or the Persians, or someone you haven't heard of yet. Power abhors a vacuum. Someone will fill it. But for now, Tyre is free. That's enough. Age 59, your health starts failing. Nothing major, just the accumulated wear of 60 years, the cough that doesn't quite go away, the chest pain when you climb stairs, the fatigue that hits earlier each day. Your physician, expensive Greek guy who claims to know the latest medical advances, prescribes rest, avoiding stress, maybe some herbs that probably don't do anything. You cut back on work, show up to the office 3 days a week instead of 6. Let Hiram handle everything else. He's 34 now, experienced, capable, ready to take over completely. More time at home means more time with family, playing with grandchildren. You have 4 now. Sitting with your milk in the courtyard, watching the sunset, thinking about life. What do you want people to remember about you? Your milk asks one evening. That's a depressing question. You're the one who's been moody and philosophical lately. I'm just engaging with it. You think about this. What do you want to be remembered for? I want them to remember that I survived, you finally say. That I adapted. That when the Assyrians came, I didn't break. That I built something and passed it forward. You pause. And that I made really good purple dye. The really good purple dye is what you'll actually be remembered for. Yeah, probably. You both laugh. It's quiet laughter, tired laughter, but real. Age 60 arrives without fanfare. You're in your study, reviewing accounts out of habit more than necessity. The tablets in front of you represent 40 years of business, thousands of transactions, millions of shekels of trade. Ships that sailed from Tyre to every corner of the Mediterranean and back. This was your life, trade and purple dye and cedar logs and glass, teaching children to write, paying tribute to empires, surviving everything the world threw at you. It doesn't feel like 60 years, feels like you just started, like you're still 14 years old on your first voyage to Cyprus, pulling an oar with bleeding hands, learning what it means to be Phoenician. But the mirror tells you otherwise. Grey hair, lined face, hands that shake slightly. You're old now. The next generation is running things. Your time is mostly past. That's okay. You're tired anyway. Hiram finds you in the study that evening. Father, we need to talk about the business. What about it? About when you're ready to fully retire. We should formalize the transition, make it official, put everything in writing. He's being diplomatic. He means when you die, when you're gone, when I'm running everything without you. Draw up whatever documents you need, you tell him. I'll sign them. You've built something good, Hiram says quietly. You know that, right? This business, this family. It matters. It's purple dye and cedar logs. I wouldn't call it profound. It's survival. It's adaptation. It's taking care of people. He pauses. It's teaching your grandchildren to read and write. It's maintaining connections across the Mediterranean. It's preserving our culture even when empires try to crush us. That's profound. Maybe he's right. One last evening on the roof, one last sunset over the Mediterranean, one last moment watching ships in the harbour prepare for voyages you'll never take again. The sea is still there, still blue and gold in the dying light, still full of possibility for those young enough to chase it, still dangerous and beautiful and eternal. Tyre is still there, smaller than its golden age maybe, more cautious, but alive. Phoenician, ships still sail from the harbour, workshops still produce purple dye. The alphabet still spreads across the known world. You're still here, 60 years old, survived everything, wars and empires, storms and pirates, business failures and successes, birth and death, the whole beautiful, brutal, messy experience of being alive in the ancient world. Umilk joins you on the roof. She's 62, grey-haired, wrinkled, still the smartest person you know. "What are you thinking about?" she asks. "Everything. Nothing. How lucky I've been." Lucky? Born in Tyre, born into a family business, married you, raised good children, built something that'll outlast me. You gesture at the harbour. Most people don't get this. Most people work and suffer and die and nobody remembers them. I got to trade with pharaohs, sail to Sicily, teach my grandchildren to write. That's lucky. You worked for it. I worked for it and got lucky. Both things can be true. She takes your hand. No regrets? A million small ones, a few big ones, but overall, no, I'd do it again. The sunset fades to darkness. The stars come out. Your stars. Phoenician stars, the ones that guided your ships, the ones that will guide ships long after you're gone. Below, in the harbour, a ship is preparing to sail at dawn. The captain is probably writing his manifest right now, using the 22-letter alphabet that makes everything possible, carrying cargo worth a fortune, risking everything for profit and adventure and the sheer thrill of seeing what's over the horizon. That was you once, young and strong and certain you could conquer the world one purple-dyed garment at a time. Now you're old and tired and certain of almost nothing except that you did your best, and that's enough. Your bed is calling, your comfortable, soft bed that's nothing like the hard deck of a ship or the thin mat on a stone floor. Your bed where nobody's demanding tribute, where no storms rage, where no empires threaten. Just rest, just sleep, just peace. The Mediterranean will still be there tomorrow. The business will continue. Your grandchildren will grow and learn and sail their own ships to distant ports. The alphabet will spread. The purple dye will stain new hands. Life will go on. But right now, in this moment, you can let it all go. You're Balhanan, son of a dye merchant. Merchant yourself, father, grandfather, Phoenician. You survived 60 years in a world that tried repeatedly to kill you. You adapted, you endured, you mattered, and now you can rest. The stars are beautiful. The sea is eternal. Your family is safe. Close your eyes. Let the waves of the Mediterranean carry you somewhere peaceful. Let the weight of 60 years dissolve into nothing. You've earned this. Sleep now. The world will keep turning without you for a little while. And when you wake, there will be new ships to send out, new deals to negotiate, new grandchildren to teach. But for now, just sleep. Just rest. Just